Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our March meeting. Gosh, it's hard to believe it's March. How far we're getting through the year. So, firstly, apologies. Is there any apologies today? Any conflicts of interest reporting? Acknowledgements. Just briefly, obviously, thank you for those who are able to attend the community service the community service award that we awarded there a week ago, and also the acknowledgement of the Royal Honour. I thought that was a really lovely function. So and thank you, David, for putting that into the North Canterbury News for both those individuals. I know that they've appreciated that being acknowledged, so thank you for that. Any other acknowledgements? We come to, so just on the papers today, there is a report which won't be addressed today, which is 8.3, which is the Rangiora Airfield Governance Review. We've just got a bit more work to do on that before it comes back here.
When could we expect to see that, Mr. Mayor?
When it's ready, Joan. Yeah, it's not ready at the moment.
There's been 3 months now.
Well, with respect, we'll hopefully next month. Yeah, so the doesn't stop the governance progressing as it is, but it's just making sure that whatever structure we have in place is enduring. So that's the key part there. But at the moment, get a variety amount of feedback about this. It's going to make sure what is there is right, and I'll work with the portfolio, with our representative on that over the coming month. Hopefully we'll be back here next month. Right, so we come to confirmation of minutes. We have several. So there's 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3. Is there any corrections to any of the minutes there? If there isn't, yes, sorry, did you have a correction, Councillor Means?
Yes, just on 6.2 in the minutes from the annual plan budget meeting. I was wondering if you could please change my quote to recently been appointed, as the appointment wasn't because it says that, let's see here. It says that I had recently become aware of my appointment. I knew I was appointed, but so it wasn't a surprise to me, but I hadn't been fully inducted yet or attended any of those meetings. So at that point, whenever we're discussing those items, so if we just change the become aware of the appointment to recently been appointed, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Thank you. Any other corrections? So do you appear to move those council meetings, all of 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3? Seconded the Deputy Mayor. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Declare that carried. Is there any matters arising from the minutes? Okay, so we have a deputations and presentations. First is 5.1, Simon Higgs. Is Simon here? Please come forward, Simon. So Simon, welcome to our meeting. Have up to 10 minutes. And if you could leave some opportunity for some question, that would be appreciated. So any questions that might come, there may not be, but now I open that to you. Thank you.
Very good. Well, firstly, thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors, for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Simon Higgs, as for you who don't know it, and I own 2 lots in the ODP 160. And I realise that this is a pretty small ODP, but probably has caused you people quite a bit of grief and taken its fair share of time. And really what I'm going to speak today is not to blame anyone or to cause any sort of disturbance within the WDC, but really just a recital of some facts. So it's not a debate either about whether stormwater must be managed. Everybody agrees that it definitely does, but it's about whether a centralised stormwater management area is necessary, proportionate, or really the best for this ODP. And the argument could be made that the landowners could have dealt with the removal of these ponds through the district plan submission process, and yes, we could have. But firstly, before the 3rd of February meeting last month, the landowners were not aware that detailed plans had been progressed and approval sought for construction of this SMA. And this is because the last correspondence that we received on this matter was on Thursday, 18th of April 2024, where it was advised, and I quote, that the project and associated ECAN consent applications will remain on hold. Now, that same email informed us that a report had been prepared, but unfortunately was not delivered to Council at this meeting. So from correspondence and conversations with the WDC over years, it was felt that they understood the position that we had and were working to align the ODP to reflect our wishes, and of course that no action really needed to be taken on our part at this point. Landowners have been canvassed on this subject 3 times, and our answer has always been consistent, that we don't support a central management system, we support individual on-site management. So why do we have that position? Well, there remain significant legal obstacles for this SMA going ahead, and we note that ECAN's position has evolved, but the SMA still cannot serve all properties that it has been designed to serve. Half of the ODP area serviced by the front pond has no legal right to transmit water across Kintyre Lane. So in effect, this means that if that pond is constructed, half of those lots are in a position where they'd have to manage stormwater on site for potentially for a period of time, and how long that is really unknown. So it kind of undermines the premise of having a centralised arrangement for this ODP. Now, we know that common law permits natural sheet flow of water downhill, but it doesn't permit concentrated discharge from the roos and the hard stand areas across a boundary into another's property without appropriate easements. And the council cannot compel these easements. So if one landowner refuses to accept centralised concentrated discharge, the system fails. So if the water is detained and fully attenuated or infiltrated on site, it meets common law requirements. So this is a really legally sound infrastructure option. There's never going to be a pipes network in this location, so for all the water to get to that SMA, it has to flow across the land. That's either in the swales that are there, overland flow paths, existing drainage, or obviously new drainage that could be dug. Now, these systems have finite capacity, and importantly, 2 of the lots that have been developed on the Mill Road side of this ODP contain significant overland flow paths that would be utilised by this SMA, and the flow path channels on those properties aligned with the only viable culvert under Kintyre Lane, and also align with the inflow channel as described in the plans that have been proposed for the SMA. And of course, these owners are concerned about additional water flow across their properties, and this could be an easement issue. So as discussed earlier, on-site options would keep these flows minimal as they are now. Under increasing rainfall intensity projections, resilience is critical. Now, I'd like you to think about this. If Canterbury does become wetter, then obviously more management is going to be required. And detention services and devices could be added incrementally, but under the proposed model, each landowner would be responsible for the ongoing system on their property to ensure that it coped with the rainfall at that time. And the RMA is the regulatory tool that would compel upsizing if that was required. And I guess if we think about the other option of an SMA that needs to be expanded, that would really be a nightmare, but not an impossible task, a large amount of money, obviously acquisition of land, all those things that go along with that. So from an engineering resilience perspective, decentralised storage, again, is a stronger option. Now, consent conditions related to stormwater are registered on the title, and ongoing compliance of these is enforceable. So in terms of maintenance, on-site tanks really require no more than many other systems that are commonly used, such as pressure sewer systems that are in use widely across New Zealand, and they're actually used in this ODP as well. So within this ODP, 6 properties currently have a consent to use on-site storage and attenuation systems, and these systems are performed through significant rainfall events over the last few years. Now, I've personally spoken with all of these owners on this matter over the last couple of weeks, and all report no issues, and none support the SMA. And within this small catchment of these 6 properties, there are no easements, there are no excess flows, there are no disputes between them. They have a good working model. These people have also invested in compliant systems and landscaping, and they don't want more expense, upheaval, modification, and obviously the associated mess that goes along with transferring them to an SMA. So the evidence within this catchment undeniably demonstrates that the detention and attenuation model is working effectively. And importantly, all 14 landowners are aligned. We desire to move permanently to on-site stormwater management across the ODP. Now, 2 council or governmental obstacles were mentioned at the 3rd of February meeting regarding progressing to on-site management. And firstly, this was the removal of the SMAs from the ODP. And at that meeting, Councillor Mealings asked whether the changing regulatory environment would allow this to be adjusted. And Kelly LaValle indicated that there could be an opportunity to update the ODP through regional special plans or end-use plans. Now, I've conferred with Matt Bacon on this in the last few days, and he's confirmed that this could be an option in the near future to update the ODP through these plans. And secondly, there could be another opportunity in the spatial plan session in 2027, or the land use plans in 2028 would be the following time that allowed these plans to be updated without the council needing to lead a plan change. Now, if it was agreed to remove these SMAs from this ODP, all of the landowners would be happy with any of these timelines. And secondly, the reserve status of 368 Mill Road. And it was pointed out also that that parcel could remain as a reserve or be used for an alternative purpose, as noted in the last meeting as well. And there are a few ideas for that, but I don't have time to talk about it. The 2021 estimate for this building of the ponds was $401,600. And there's no one going to deny that by the time those ponds get built, it's going to be significantly more than that. So if easement or transmission constraints prevent the full utilisation of this pond, then those expenses are going to be carried as debt by ratepayers. So on a cost system, really placing the responsibility of the cost where it falls to those landowners by having the systems on site is the best option. Now, importantly, this isn't a new concept that's being introduced. On the 6th of December 2022, council officers produced a fantastic report that acknowledged that on-site detention and attenuation was an acceptable long-term stormwater solution for this area. And the council accepted that report on Tuesday, the 7th of February 2023. So this has been assessed, it was considered viable, and it was recognised as compliant. And the WDC Engineering Code of Practice, Part 5, page 23, that advises that stormwater tanks on private properties can regulate the flow of water from roofs. And this document goes as far to say as the council may recommend, excuse me, or require such tanks if there is no available reticulated stormwater. So it's clear that the WDC understands these systems and accepts them. And this is because they're accepted nationwide. They actually do work, and it also aligns with tangata whenua values. So if I could leave you with this, we're not trying to avoid stormwater obligations. We're asking that we continue to use infrastructure that is already working in this catchment and is developed and accepted as viable by the WDC. And for this ODP, It avoids easement disputes. It will help us to move this ODP to its full rate-paying potential. It avoids ratepayer debt exposure. It aligns with environmental best practice. It aligns with iwi values. It is legally robust, and it is supported by all 14 landowners. Conversely, the proposed SMA introduces legal fragility, fiscal risk, unnecessary complexity, and is not supported by any of the landowners. And for these reasons, it is not the best choice in this instance. We're not asking the council to reduce standards. We're really asking just to apply them in a way that fits this site. So this is an opportunity for you councillors to align policy, evidence, and community position. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Just, if I can ask our CE, this matter's to come back as a report at some particular point, is that correct?
Yeah, it's planned to come back next month.
Right, okay. Thank you. So it's just clarifying for you now, so you could hear when it's likely to be coming back to us. So.
Yeah, I understood there was a report today, but then that report got moved, but I thought it'd be best to speak to it in case there are any more questions that got raised through the deputation. It would give you an opportunity to dig into them.
I believe there's a briefing, I think there's a briefing on some of that recently anyway. I wasn't here for it, but familiar with the issues you've raised because that's been going on for
a long while, yeah.
Large number of years, yeah. Okay, any questions of colleagues? I think we understand what you're talking to there, Simon, so thank you. And when the report comes, we'll make sure that our governance staff make you aware of that so you can see what's recommended. And if you wish to speak further to that at that stage, I'm open to giving that opportunity should you have anything you wish to clarify further.
Awesome. Hey, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I have no adjourned business, so we now come to item 7.1, which is the Woodend water mains renewal. Thank you. So Sean, are you leading that today?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Just to introduce myself quickly, because I haven't spoken to this iteration of the council yet. So I'm the Utilities Projects Team Leader. My team delivers capital works projects for Three Waters projects for Caroline and Jason as our client. And part of my role is to plan year on year the water renewals that we are going to do, so the budget planning and programming of the renewals. For Woodend, it's so there's obviously a very large stretch of pipe through the township which is now overdue. It's asbestos main that was installed in I think 1978. So and we do tend to have a lot of problems with that vintage of pipe work with leaks around joins in the pipe and also with lateral connections onto the main that are often rusted out. And in this particular stretch, we've had about 5 or 6 occasions in the last 5 years where we've had to go in and do repairs. So with the budget that we have, there's not enough in the current year to complete this full scope of work, and there's also no budget for the following 3 or 4 years, I believe, until some more comes in the 2030s. So in order to achieve construction next year, we're signalling now that we're very likely to put in a staff submission for more budget, and also to be ready to construct, we are needing more budget in the current year so that we can complete all investigation work, which includes potholing of services to avoid service clashes and GPR and surveying in the road, as well as the PDU design fees associated with the work. So yeah, as per the recommendations, we're asking for an additional 60,000 of budget this year to complete the design in order to construct next year, and we'll be putting in a sub-submission for that budget. There's also a small section of stormwater upgrade which we're doing at the same time due to the location of the work and the fact that we have to relocate some water to be able to install the stormwater. At this stage, that budget's looking okay, but we thought it's worth including in the report as we'll be constructing both together.
Happy to take questions.
So no, nothing further to add from either of you as well. So, any questions of colleagues? Sorry, Carolyn.
I was just gonna, say that Sean has covered largely what we're trying to gain approval for today. So happy to take questions.
Okay. Questions? Councillor Fulton, then Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Sean and team, for the report. Just noting there was a mention there of the original sort of, what I assume was the scope works. There were elements that were missed, particularly in the length, the 250 metres of extra piping, for instance, the engineering code of practice. Are we satisfied that we sort of had the necessarily sort of budget and resources to scope this out at the start? Because there seems to be some sort of escalation as a result of that, of missing elements originally in the assessment.
So the details around that. So when we had scoped the renewal for the year, we had actually looked at what's due for renewal and what we need to prioritize. So there are sections along the main off-road that were showing red, and those are the obvious ones. But then through actual detailed design, through that process, we've picked up other sections that made sense to be constructed at the same time. Otherwise, it would be disruptive to future traffic, etc. So we've added those in. And also there was the point about the rider mains. So currently we are renewing the pipes as they are, but based on our engineering code of practice, we have to allow for rider main connections of a rider main rather than a booster main so that it does not compromise on the resilience of that pipe. So we have to actually install additional 63 ODP along the entire stretch as well to supply those connections. So that added to the scope that was originally not included.
So I know this is hindsight now, but was it? Do you think in hindsight there's elements that I suppose that you could have foreseen?
Yes, so I think maybe the learning is in future when we are scoping out these projects, we will make sure that we add another layer of cost estimation and looking at what we're actually replacing with, that level of detail, rather than just sort of assuming we're replacing like for like at a time.
Sean, you spoke about the 3 to 4 years for the project. In the report, I can only see an overall project estimate for 2 years for 1.37. So we don't have an estimate for all the work.
So the project's been planned for over 2 years. So design is this financial year with the intention to go out to construction next financial year.
So just Sean said 3 to 4 years, so.
So we have year-on-year renewals budgets, so it's kind of an ongoing, every year for each scheme we'll have X amount of budget for pipe replacements. So I think what I mentioned was for the next 3 to 4 years, there's nothing in the wood end scheme renewals budget, and then more comes on in 2031, 32, or something like that. And at that time, we'll look to replace Asian pipes in other parts of the scheme. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So you've got some, traffic management thoughts in there, which, is, they're a bit of a concern. Lots of impact on businesses with lots of parking. I'm not saying the wreck doesn't have to happen or anything like that, but there is a lot of considerations around that stretch of road, which is extremely busy. The traffic backs up heading north from about 2:45 in the afternoon and goes right through to peak hour. So any slowdown of traffic just will create tailbacks. And talked about a communications approached communications with directly impacted residents and businesses and the wider Woodian community, the impact actually goes wider than that. You will have people shortcutting through Tuahiwi to avoid the tailbacks. At Ravenswood, it impacts Waikoku residents, impacts Pegasus residents. It has quite a large impact. So I would like to see the communications, have you considered that in your communications strategy?
Yeah, very good points. There will be wider communications like the, I'm sure we'll keep doing similar things to the recent Facebook posts that have been done around upcoming works in the district and things like that, just to try and give that wider communication, and probably similar things like the advanced warning signs that we have on now for Percival Street with the works upcoming there, and just to try and flag that. And just one other thing to try and mitigate that, I guess, the majority of the work is off the road lanes and the shoulder and the footpath of the road, so we're not planning any lane closures. There might be a reduction, like down to 30k speed limit through the township, but the only lane closures we'll be doing will be overnight, just to try and reduce that. But yeah, we definitely understand there's an impact. And as far as parking, I think that's something that is largely unavoidable, that we will lose a lot of parking along the road. Yeah.
One quick question. Given a lot of the it will be on the footpaths and at the shoulder, has there been any consideration given to approaching main power to look at putting power cables underground, given the number of times cars hit the power poles in Woodend?
No, so we haven't actively approached them with regard to this point, but we will pick it up as part of the prior to construction.
Thank you.
To ensure that that's considered.
Thank you. Any further questions? Deputy Mayor? Further questions?
Thank you for the report. What is the life of this pipework infrastructure? You've indicated 50 years. Is that the normal life expectancy, or is this failing prematurely?
So typically with our pipe renewal plan, we consider quite a few factors, so like age, pipe material, criticality of where it's located. So I think based on all those factors, this pipe has returned to be AA critical, and therefore it has been recommended to be renewed within that window. So it really depends on different pipes, where they're located, what size they are, and what pipe material, essentially to inform the renewals model. So that information all gets analyzed and assigned, and so we plan our renewals accordingly.
Right. You've also indicated that there are no rate impacts as the money's already in the renewals account. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So we currently have a very healthy renewals fund for the wooden Pegasus supply. And so with this additional budget request for this financial year, as well as the additional construction budget we're anticipating for next financial year, we are still able to fund it through the renewals fund with no impact to the rate.
Right. Does the growth in the area have any impact on your decision with the timing of the work?
Not for this particular project. This is triggered mainly by renewal. We're just recognizing that the pipe is overdue for renewal and there is a vulnerability for the supply, and we need to get on and replace it so that we can continue making sure that the people get their water when they need to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mealyx?
Thank you, but the Deputy Mayor asked my question, so no further questions.
It's good to see you two aligned.
I think he was reading.
All right, any further questions? So we have a series of recommendations. Is someone prepared to move? Moved Councillor Fulton, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I think we've answered some of the questions that myself and colleagues may have had in terms of the cost, in terms of the sort of the scope of works, and in terms of the history of this work as well. Obviously, we have some very ageing infrastructure. It's almost like ageing infrastructure meets sort of rebuild, rapid regrowth of this community, and the two things sort of come together at the same time. And we need not just to fix what we have, but also to make it sort of sound and solid for the future. I'm heartened by the fact that there is money in that renewals fund in this community. I assume that's a factor of growth as well. I mean, if it's sort of it's a pooled money, or is it not? No, no. But that's and there's no rate impact on this. Clearly needs to be done. Has needed to be done for some time. So I think it's best to provide that extra money that we can get on with this and get the work done. So I'm fully in support. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, Councillor Fulton's taken some of my comments. Seems to be a lot of that happening this morning.
I think the term is that you have similar views.
Similar views. No, we're well aligned.
No one takes anyone's line.
No. Listen, I'm in support of this. It's very important we keep up our infrastructure, and we pride ourselves on having a long-term infrastructure plan. And pipes failing is the exception here rather than the norm, as may be the case in another capital city, not too far away. I think Councillor Powell made a good point. Traffic management will be critical, and to minimise the impact on business and residents, because it's going to take a wee while to carry out these works. Councillor Powell also mentioned possibly coordinating or talking to Main Power to see if there can be some synergies when the work is undertaken. So another very good idea, Councillor Powell. The final thing is there is no rate impact here. The work's been budgeted, you've got funding in the renewals account, so I think it just needs to be done. So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Meanings?
Thank you. Look, works like this can be disruptive, and nobody likes to get slowed down by roadworks. But I always say the only thing worse than roadworks is no roadworks, because that means nothing's getting fixed, done, built. And this council does have a good track record in making sure that we get to those things in time, and we, in this case, have set aside that depreciation fund to actually pay for it, which is fantastic. I do very much appreciate the fact that you've already looked at with other departments to see if there were any other projects that could be combined in with us, and also the fact that you are preemptively replacing another 170 meters worth of water main, which would have otherwise needed to be replaced shortly thereafter. So I think that you've thought it well through, and this is basically the best plan from what I can see in minimizing disruption to people on what is a very busy road. So well done on that. And I'm sure that if there are any other synergies to be had with Main Power or anybody else, that you'll sort that out. But yeah, it's good to just get on with it. So thank you for the report, and I'm happy to support it.
Councillor Powell, then followed by Judy.
Thanks very much. I mean, there's never a right time to do this sort of major work, but the right time is before there's a failure. And you know, with the age of the pipes, you know, I see that you did look about whether it would be better to wait until after the Wood End bypass, but in some ways I actually think it's actually better to do it before then, so that when the road actually becomes a local road, the residents actually get it back and then don't have to go through, you know, a period of roadworks. So yes, good to see that there will be no rating impact, that the depreciation has been put aside for this. It is a renewal, it has to happen, but certainly I do want to know that there is a really good communication strategy and a really good traffic management plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doody?
Thank you. I'd just like to congratulate you on 6.3.4 with the work you're going to be doing as the asbestos cement type work. I really appreciate the work that you put into this and to make it safe for all dealing with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? I'd just like to endorse the questions that came from Councillor Powell around just ensuring the traffic management, those things are managed as sensitively as we can. It's an area where there is regular congestion, different times, and certain concerns that you've raised. I've observed them myself when you go through that particular area. I think the comms plan as well is also really important, but also working in with our emergency services, because I know the fire brigade regularly attends incidents down there, just to making sure that they are well connected in with what our plans are. But I agree, it's important work. We've got to continue doing it. And we've seen areas where investment in the country, as was observed indirectly, where investment doesn't occur. And that's what I say to people all the time, is that we're a council that continually invests in our infrastructure, and it's something we're proud of. Where it doesn't occur, then we have breakages and other failures which we do not want to see. And so it's certainly something I commend the team for the work that you all do, making sure that our infrastructure keeps up to scratch with where it needs to be, and this continual investment ensures that we are right up there in terms of the praise that we do receive from national organisations for the work that our council achieves in this space. So thank you for the work you're about to do, but if we can just manage that as best as we can, and thanks for taking the notes and taking it on board this morning. Do you have anything you wish to say about reply?
Just briefly, I just commend Councillor Powell again with the observations, but and other colleagues, but particularly the point about making this a fit state for when it's returned to be a local road. I think that's really, it's part of the development of Woody End itself, that we sequence these things adequately, so that if we do have a gift to take back into local roads, then it's ready to go. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Declare that carried. Thank you. We now come to 8.1. We had quite a discussion about this recently, so it's been subject to a little bit of commentary in the media as well, David, I see. So some certain sensational headlines. Rob, are you leading this today?
Apparently, yes.
Well, the report's in your name, that's just why I asked. Otherwise, we could give it to the Don.
Okay, thank you very much. So today we're seeking council approval to submit the business case for the Rangiora Eastern Link to NZTA for their consideration of co-funding of the project. There are a number of other supporting recommendations in there which would allow the project to keep going while NZTA's consideration is being made as well. So the Eastern Link was first identified back in 2001 as part of the Rangiora Transport Study to be required when growth in Rangiora began to outstrip the capacity of the network, particularly South Rock Road. And I think every day we see the fact that has occurred. We're seeing persistent congestion on South Rock Road. We're seeing safety and access issues affecting the schools and churches, the businesses along South Rock Road and trying to cross that road as well. And so we're seeing that also push drivers onto other roads as well. So we've been through a process which was co-funded by NZTA to develop the business case and the concept design. We brought forward the concept design. We don't normally do the concept design at the same time as the business case, but for projects like this, it's really a good thing to do because of the very issue that we found that our initial rough order cost estimates that were done some years ago didn't understand everything that we know now around the geotechnical conditions, the amount of waterway work that's required, and other things too. So we are now much more confident in the cost of the project. It is, I would say, a no-frills project. We call it the minimum viable product for a reason. It's the minimum that will get you the transport benefits and relieve the congestion in South Brook and enable that development in East Rangiora to go ahead and have a place for people to drive to South Brook. So we understand the geotechnical conditions much better, and we resolve some of those issues. As part of that process, so we are much more confident in our cost estimate than perhaps others would be in their projects at this stage of the business case process. So the funding structure is laid out in the report for you, but it's about 40% NZTA or National Land Transport Program is proposed, 35% from development contributions and 25% from rural service rates through debt funding. So, that's 25% for the ratepayer. So, it's an excellent value for money in terms of rates investment. It has a benefit cost ratio of 3.3, so that's $3.30 of benefit for every $1 spent on the project. For the ratepayer, that's that because the ratepayer is only contributing 25% of the capital costs, but of course there's a maintenance cost there as well, means that the benefit to the ratepayer is around $7 for every $1 spent. And that adds up in total for the community about $250 million worth of benefits. So it provides an excellent return, and this is why the appetite with NZTA has been strong in our conversations with them. Those benefits include travel time savings, reducing congestion, and increased productivity for the community, as well as those safety benefits, as well as the enabling and supporting housing growth. So there are some risks that remain on the project, as there always are on the project. One of them is cost escalation. We're about to enter into we've been in a very good buyer's market in the construction industry for some time. That may last for another 6 to 12 months, but we're seeing that cost is going to start to go up as well. So these are always the risks that we have on these projects. There's a risk around property acquisition. There are some properties that we will need to acquire, so there'll be a process around that. We are upgrading and realigning the Lineside Road intersection. Anybody that has worked through processes with Kirua will tell you that is a long and arduous process. And so that'll be the last thing in the program to do. And then there is the consenting and environmental considerations of working around waterways. Yesterday we received some excellent feedback from Whitiora in relation to the proposal around Culver Creek and minimising the cost of crossing that, but also the option to create habitat and other outcomes instead of spending money on concrete instead. So that's a great outcome, and that will reduce the risk around consenting as well. So if council chooses to approve the recommendations today, what will happen next is that we'll formally submit the business case to NZTA. We will start to some of the early procurement process. We will seek feedback from the market on how they might like to be involved in the project, and we'll start to, after that, procure the design consultants, and also start to work on some of those key risks around the properties, around the consenting around Kirura as well. And then there is a key recommendation around the budget for the next financial year as part of the annual plan, subject to your decision today and feedback through the annual plan process would come back as part of staff submissions and make some recommendations around budget for next financial year. So the project's been in planning for 20 years, so it's been a lot of work by a lot of people to get us to this point, and that's why we believe that with a robust cost estimate and a support from NZTA and the funding from development contributions now seems to be the right time to progress this project, and that's why we're happy to recommend it. Happy to answer any questions, or these guys might want to fill in the gaps that I just made.
Don or Jane, do you have anything you want to add? Okay, firstly Councillor Ward, then Councillor Fulton. Doody.
Thank you for all the great work you've been doing to date. Is it an advantage, or how much of an advantage is it, the fact that we're already working on this, on the Sparks family, with a lot of gear there, doing the stormwater, that through to Lineside Road, to continue straight away onwards, because, you know, their farmland's already been disrupted. I'm sure they've been very accommodating, but
So your
isn't it an
question
advantage that we keep going now?
Well, we would need to go through the design and procurement process, so I don't think we'll be on site straight away. However, I think what we're seeing right now is a 3 kilometre long trial pit trench, which allows us to gain even more understanding of the soils and geotechnical conditions and the groundwater. So it's very useful, and it's been very useful. It's confirmed what we suspected in our investigations to date, but BG has done a very good job of providing us with some even more geotechnical information than we anticipated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Rob. I noticed the points about the business case for the traffic movements. I actually thought it might be a wider gap between, say, the 19 and the 23, but can you sort of describe what that actually looks like in terms of improvements of, say, 4,000 traffic movements, what that looks like for that road in terms of time travel? And I'm sure you've got all these reports, and yeah, just be a bit more descriptive in that and the benefit.
Yeah, there's more figures than you can shake a stick at. So some of the key ones probably to remember is that we're going to have 5,000 to 7,000 more houses on Running World over time. But we'll see a reduction from 23,000 down to 19,000, or whatever those numbers exactly are, despite that growth. So it's actually about, one, reducing the congestion on South Rock Road now, but actually ensuring that it maintains a steady state as well. So we're seeing it takes the modelled average is 7.5 minutes to get through from north to south through Rangiora. If we don't do anything, that will at least double. But if we do the Rangiora East, even with that growth, we maintain it at that 7.5 minutes.
Thank you, and yes, it'd be great to, if we can describe the story in that context, because that's a moving target. The other thing was, I'm very demanding here, but are there any sort of secondary or related works, say to the west of the town, Skew Bridge, other works, Townsend Road, that actually could increase this gap even further, so that we can basically, so the public aren't necessarily pouring back into where they were previously? They're using other local roads, and we can take more pressure off.
We certainly do have a program of improvements that we've got planned along the West Rangiora route, which connects through Fernside Road, Flaxton Road, Skewbridge Road, and down to the motorway. So we are progressing those and have a number which we are planning to do over the next few years. That followed on from a report that we brought to council after we did a study of the corridor. And I think we've always tried to take the approach that addressing one road on its own is never going to be enough for our district. We need to build up and develop the three routes we have really, or four including Tram Road, that all, I guess, feed out to the state highway corridor. So yes, we've got quite a program across our roading portfolio for improvement over the next 10 to 30 years.
Thank you. Councillor Doody.
Thank you. Thanks very much for that report. Just to highlight, please don't forget about contacting McPhail Avenue clients, please. But I'm actually was very interested in your mention, which I was going to ask about the tram road and the extra congestion. So thank you. That's helped me. So, but question, I was concerned about the outlying area.
Yeah, I think for our district, it's very much not a concentrate on one route. We have to reinforce across all of our key corridors to allow people to still be able to travel around as they need to.
Thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the uniqueness of this project, and I suppose a broader question to follow, are we planning to conduct a post-project review of how things went? And as a wider question, how often are we taking a moment at the end of completion of projects to kind of look back to gather any learnings to move forward?
With the additional project management specific skill sets that we've recently been getting through the team, we are trying to develop a more planned and robust lessons learned process. We've always had a lessons learned process, but it has been a little bit hit and miss in terms of how it's applied and when it's applied. More recently, we have developed quite a good structure that at the end of even relatively small projects like the new toilets at Ashley River and things like that, we are holding specific lessons learned projects that is being structured in a programmed way with the contractors involved, a number of different groups at those meetings and stored away, well, shared and then stored away for future reference. So it's a really good question that we are trying to get better at, and this project in particular will, I think, have screeds of lessons learned, which we will all pick up on as we've worked through the last 3 or 4 years of pretty significant decisions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right. Did you have a question? Yeah.
Thank you, Rob, for a very comprehensive summary. In your opinion, is the timing of this crucial politically if we look at the big context? Do we need to progress this now?
I think there's a number of things happening, and you'll be probably more aware of them than I am, but I will say them out loud for the record. There is a lot of work coming online, but also a lot of relitigation of previous decisions in relation to infrastructure at the moment to ensure that the infrastructure across the nation is fit for purpose, and we saw the National Infrastructure Plan come out last week. So I think that's a really important trend that is happening at the moment, but perhaps from a more transport-specific purpose, when there's an election coming up, we'll see a new government transport statement, that policy statement, that may or may not alter the settings in relation to what the National Land Transport Program funds. And so at the moment, with the current GPS, the Rangiora Eastern Link is very well aligned with the outcomes that it's seeking, and that is why there is a lot of positive feedback coming from NZTA around this project. We don't know what a future GPS would look like, therefore we don't know
that Rangiora Eastern Link will be supported in the same way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, well, I'm going to move from the chair the recommendations that are there. Is there a seconder? I know Councillor Ward's dying to do it. Do you mind if I need to, Councillor Bartle? I'm happy to put you as third speaker. Just firstly, that we've had a lot of discussion on this over the last certainly month or so and impending years. This is the time to get this in, and we agreed as part of the annual plan that concurrently we would lodge the business case, noting that we also want to that it's subject to feedback from residents as well. And I know Alistair and the team have certainly done, and with our team here, have done a great job of explaining that there. I was interested about a week or so to be criticised by the Taxpayers Union for us proceeding with an infrastructure project, which we've put a really good case on that, and we're asking our residents on. I did contact the Taxpayers Union, and they did assure me that he was a bit surprised that we were getting that level of criticism there, because infrastructure projects are very critical to them. I haven't seen a retraction yet, but I did get a confirmation from Jordan that he was away and he would look into it. So we will see where that gets to, but the reality is that this project has gone up in its estimates. We're not happy about that, but it is what it is. And as I observed recently, when we look at the cost of the Northern Corridor, it was about a $330 million project from memory. Now, if we look at the Woodend bypass, and not dissimilar in complexities, there are a few different things, obviously, but that was a much longer project in terms of its length. Where now the Woodend bypass is $1 billion, so it gives you an idea of scale and just delay. With delay comes cost. I think our team have done an excellent job of also going out and testing the market on this to make sure that are those costs realistic. I've had members of the development community certainly speak to me very concerned if this project doesn't proceed, and certainly some who have already paid and are paying development contributions want to see this project completed. They don't want to see the development contributions go up either, I might add, but that's another matter in the scheme of it. But as it's been talked of, 70 cents per ratepayer per week is the sort of estimate there. At present stage is assuming we get contributions through. To note that this has got further processes to go through, so if the business case is approved, then we've got our necessary approvals that we'll need to have to endorse that project, and we've got the LTP next year. And if it doesn't achieve the funding support, we'll have to think about the project and what other options there might be. But this is a really essential piece of infrastructure to get done. 23 to 26,000 vehicle movements through Southbrook is not insignificant, and any of us that travel that and use that at various times, and it's not just during the week, it's critically at weekends as well. Just know how congested it is. It's been on the books for many, many years. The rating designation's been in place. The work's done. Now we just need to get the endorsement, and hopefully the appetite as Rob was talking about continues to be strong through NZTA, so much so that it'll get the tick. That would be the ideal. I would like to see that we do consider what the when it comes to it, what the tendering might be. It would be great to see that our local contractors are certainly given every opportunity in which to put in, or at least the opportunity for joint ventures to come about with other major contractors. I think there'll be a lot of interest in this project. So how you put that together and achieving best value, and also ensuring our local contracting community get the opportunity, I'd like the staff to think about. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit there, but it will become a very important project, and it would be good to see those who've got great track records locally given that opportunity at least to put in a tender or be part of a process where they may be able to be used. So, and I know that's happened on many of our big contracts over the years, and it is such a project that hopefully there would be scope with that. But team, I think you've done your work. Thank you, Rob, Don, Joanne, and all our organisation, Jeff and the team as well, that have put in a lot of work to make sure that our numbers are where they hopefully need to be. We won't know until it goes to tender what the final cost is. These are just estimates. So, but we've got to get the business case over the line. That's the critical aspect. It's got our full support to get out there. Hopefully I'll see shortly, to get over the line. But noting that there are other processes still to go through. This council was recognised for being a leader when it comes to infrastructure and making sure that we're building connections like this to ensure that we continue to develop as we have progressed and worked through our district plan, but also to ensure that the existing deficiencies are addressed, and that's what this project does. So thank you for the work, and hopefully we get the approval today. Seconder, Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Wow. Let's go. I'm really grateful that the council have brought this project forward by 10 years. Thank you. Thank you for all the work. They'll be amazing engineers, and especially Rob, having you on board has been a huge help, I'm sure, to all staff. I think that our wonderful engineers have gained by the experience that they're experiencing now. I have to say that the Belgrove subdivision, which is going to grow by another, 800 sections in 2 or 3 stages, is a real credit to our local contractors. When you go around there and you look at what has been achieved there by our local contractors, is quite superb for the people wanting to live in our region. And of course, people are very excited when I go around Northbrook Waters area, the park area there. People think that we've already started, and they're so excited. But unfortunately, we're probably a couple of years away or a year away before we can crank up. But I just want to say a big thank you. 10 cents a day is very little, even with for people to cope with, for the value that this is going to be for our community and easing access in and out of Rangiora. And I do know that the experience that you're having now through the geotechnic of the waterways and everything, I see it every day when they're working down there now, that value will be very valuable, and the rest of our networks that we need to do, which is 5 Crossroads, the West Rangiora and Scobridge, and we have the expertise and the knowledge to actually complete all of these things, to do all of these in-house. And I tell you what, there's not many councils can say that, and I say congratulations, well done, and totally support what you do, and let's get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bartle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the report. Look, this has been talked about for a long time. It's long overdue. The productivity equations are very clear. I certainly support this. The 25% extra cost direct to the council is $17 million. We delay this project, that number's not going to get any better. And the benefits can be, saved now if we can get it done. So I support this moving forward as fast as possible. I mean, I know there's still some uncertainties to work through, but it needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. I had Deputy Mayor Redmond, Mealings and Cairns, I think it was.
Thank you for the report. I too will be supporting the recommendation. If I had been opposed to the Eastern Link. Your very persuasive and eloquent presentation would have, I'm sure, changed my mind. I mean, a return on investment, $3.30 for every dollar we spend. Ratepayers, 25% of the project cost. And you mentioned a $7 return also for every dollar spent. Now, I mean, that's excellent, an excellent return and excellent value for ratepayers. So the benefits of travel time, less congestion, productivity and so on. You also rightly said the project is not without some risk, and we can't predict the future and cost escalation, and dealing with Kiwi Rail can be a fraught process in my experience. We're managing growth, and we are a growth council, as Mr Mayor quite often comments upon. I was interested in Councillor Fulton's question about travel times. So we're not actually going to shorten travel times. It seems we're going to maintain travel times whilst at the same time achieving high growth in the district and traffic moving elsewhere. So we've still got some hurdles to go through, some hoops to jump, consultation to see if ratepayers are still supportive of the funding with the increased costs. But on the information you've presented, I think you have a very compelling case. I think we're in a sweet spot with NZTA and funding. So I think if we're ever going to get this over the line, now is probably the time. So thank you very much for your comprehensive report, and I enjoyed the presentation.
Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the report. Anybody that drives through Rangiora right now is probably with me in that if you don't have to drive through Southbrook, you try not to. I know I personally avoid it like the plague. If there's a way to get around it, I take that. But ours is a growing district. We have in our district plan just liberated up to 5,000 new sections. Now, doing the math, that's, you know, at least 10 to 15,000 more people just in eastern Rangiora. Sorry, the 5,000 sections refer to just the eastern side of Rangiora. And all of those guys need some place to go. They need a road to get down, to get somewhere. And whilst we have discussed during the question time here that over time, we'll probably maintain travel times, but you know, in the report it does identify that at least in the shorter term, it's going to reduce travel time by 3 to 4 minutes from eastern Rangiora. It's going to support that growth. It will save approximately 7,000 kilometers of VKT, which is huge. And it's been said while we've been talking about this over the last wee while that 10 cents a day of fuel that you're probably using just sitting in the traffic, rather the 10 cents that you will pay to shorten the wait will more than pay for the fuel that you would have lost sitting in the traffic. Sorry, I got that backwards. And it's got a great benefit cost ratio. You know, this is going to be money well spent. It's always with a little bit of trepidation, I guess, whenever you enter into a big project like this, but we know we need this. And the best time to have done it was probably, you know, 5 or 10 years ago. The next best time is now, and the conditions are right. And yeah, I look forward to us getting underway, and I hope the winds blow in our favor with the funding, and we'll see where we land. But excellent work thus far, and I look forward to seeing where we go from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will be voting in favour of this recommendation, and thank you, Rob, for the superb presentation. You got me at no frills, actually. It's not actually in the report, but the no frills seem to be the kicker for me in terms of it's all with a positive outcome, and that's the crucial part. What I find interesting is the NZTA submission growth pays for growth, and we're only asking for $26 million. But I did a bit of a desktop study in terms of how much GST from the new builds will come out of Belgrove alone, and it's like $90 million, and we're only asking for $26 million. And that doesn't include all of the other GST, which is recouped or gathered by the government for all the other new builds in the district. So asking for $26 million seems a very, very reasonable case to actually put to the government, and I'm sure that they're going to agree that they're going to fund that $26 million. In fact, they should be giving us more. So best of luck for the submission to NZTA, and as I said, I'll be voting in favour of this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'll also be in support. Just to sort of speak for the water for a second, I'm really heartened to hear the work on Kura Creek and the ongoing benefit of those discussions with Ngāti Huriri and the associated group. And I'd be really looking forward to seeing what the ecology assessment sort of work, not just for the creek is, but for the wider area, and whether we can really have as light a touch as possible, not just for the benefit of the land, but also for the cost savings that we've seen in this report. And hopefully we can find a way that no frills actually means additional benefit for that sensitive wetland area, for the three brooks, links with Southbrook as an industrial and residential area. You know, we've all seen the reports about how much particulates sort of feed into our waterways and end up in those wetlands. So the better the wetland, then the better result for the community and downstream. So just a little added extra aspect of it, but we can find a way in the course of this work to do more ecological assessment to really enhance this area, then all the better. But I'm really in favour, so thank you very much.
Any further speakers? Just in right of reply, it was an important point that Councillor Ward mentioned, and we talk about it all the time, is the connectedness. It's not only about building just this project, but it's all the other projects which are connected. Addressing congestion and roading issues isn't just one magic fix. There's a number in the 5 crossroads, the Skew Bridge, the Woodian bypass, tram road improvements. There are a number there, and in fact I just pulled up the comments that came through from the Infrastructure Commission, which gave us a stage 1 endorsement for this particular project, and they did mention in there around the other projects that we're also talking of, which is the ones that are mentioned, and as you mentioned before as well, Councillor Mannings, it unlocks 5,000 new homes, but also it's the further growth in this district of between 14 to 17,000 new dwellings over the next 15 to 20 years. If we don't provide for this infrastructure, that will not support, and we will be struggling to support the additional growth. So that's why this is so important. But I just thought it important to mention the New Zealand Infrastructure Commission. They don't necessarily endorse everything that's out there, so it was, I think, a really important endorsement to see that that came through, and I'm sure that that will hopefully form part of the very persuasive cases the Deputy Mayor was putting forward that Rob and others have done. We look forward to hearing that announcement. You talked, fingers crossed, you talked about Kiwi Rail earlier, and I should have mentioned it in my comment. If there's any issues with dealing with them in the not too distant future, please let us know, because we do have contacts there through other forums they're involved with, and do know that they have a lot of things to deal with. But also need to understand the priorities of ensuring that we are doing the things that they'd like us to be doing as well, and we work in partnership where they've got infrastructure through our districts. So I just wanted to note that please use us where needed if there are particular challenges there, because there are other forums that we've got conversations going in, and they want to be helpful in those forums. So it'd be nice for them to know at a granular level the challenges that we have, and hopefully they can help us overcome those. All right, with that, I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Declare that carried unanimously. So that's a great endorsement. Well done. When's that going to be submitted? Just remind us.
This afternoon, I'd say.
Before lunchtime. I remember someone saying it would be gone by lunchtime. Submitted before lunchtime. Thanks very much, team.
Thank you.
All right, we move to 8.2 now, which is the proposed stock movement bylaw. Is that Diana and Sean? Oh, Diana. And Joanne. Great.
I'll be Sean today.
Great.
Good morning. I am here to present the stock movement, or the proposed stock movement bylaw, and we're requesting council permission to go ahead and consult on the proposed stock movement bylaw. We will be coordinating our consultation so that it follows after the annual plan consultation. I will take the report as read. The key points with this, or the key changes, are that we've made quite a major update to the bylaw in that we've updated the language and also the processes for getting permits, what we expect the information to receive when you are moving stock, when you are asking for a permit, and we've been very transparent in that we have laid out the conditions that we may apply to stock movement permits. We've also clarified the definitions. We noticed that we didn't actually have a definition of what constitutes damage when stock would damage an area. We have also consolidated definitions across multiple bylaws so that we have verge is consistently used rather than verge in some and berms in others. We've also included explanatory notes as guidance. These are not part of the bylaw, but they do add in clarity. And we've also put in time periods for how long a stock movement permit is valid for, rather than having them potentially last for an unknown or an ongoing period of time. And we have added in a review provision so that we can, if we are getting reports of problems with a permit holder, we can review the permit and the conditions around the permit. I'm happy to take any questions. Over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Questions of colleagues. I think I saw Councillor Fulton, Bartle, McLaren, Doody. Oh, well, hold on. Let me get all that. So, Fulton, Bartle, Doody, McLaren was in there first. McLaren, Doody, and Mealings. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Isn't livestock exciting? Yeah. Just in the relation to, thank you for that report. I see in the definitions of damage to roads. Does that include fouling of the road?
Yes.
So there's a definition to that, and then subsequent remediation. I'm talking about effluent, for instance, or is there a remediation provision if that should cause damage to the roads or cause a danger, a risk to the public?
What we have enabled in this bylaw is that we will be able to, with the passing of resolution in council, we will be able to use the Litter Act, so that if we have offences, if excrement is left, it can be considered litter, and then we can ask for that to be removed, and we can ticket for $400 or infringe for $400. A couple of infringements and you're paying for a road match. We can also, under a permit, we can have the condition that a road match can be used. If a permit holder is not following the conditions of their permit, we can remove their permit.
Okay. And lots of questions, but are the conditions, is that, so when you're road map, you're talking about traversing the road?
Yes.
Rather than down the road, which
down
is
the
obviously,
side.
which is, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll come back to some of that.
I think I was talking in cross purposes.
Yeah.
So if a farmer is moving stock down the road and they leave excrement, mud on the road from their stock, we can ask for them to clean it, or we state that it should be left clean.
Okay, all right. And just secondly, just those permit conditions, I assume there's an underlying assumption that we're not going to permit farmers to basically use a road as a part of their business model. So if they have two properties a kilometre apart, and I can picture some of these properties, that the road is not an everyday byway for them to just use, you know, for moving whole herds, etc.
If they are regularly moving stock along the road like that, they should have either a race or a regular stock movement permit, and that has additional provisions in it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. I'm just curious to know, what is the cost of a permit, first of all? And my second question is the service requests. There's 50 customer service requests over the last 5+ years, so about 10 a year. What are they generally for? What's going wrong? What is the request for? Is it stock being loose on the road, or effluent being? What are the main problem with those requests?
The main problem has been fouling of the road, so mud and effluent left, and then there's damage. So if people have living on lifestyle blocks have maintained their verge, planted it out, somebody runs a mob of stock down and they just go straight through it, blow out everything. So those are the two main ones. There's also been recurrent issues that appear to have been addressed more recently, where people have, or farmers have placed hot tape across the road to keep stock going across rather than straying up or down, and they have not had that monitored, so they've gone off, the stock stopped crossing, and somebody's forgotten about that piece of hot tape. So we actually specify that if you are going to put tape up, it must be monitored. And we've also reiterated the requirement for use of high-vis, which is under the NZTA rules that people should be wearing high-vis when moving stock around roads. Yeah, and sorry, I'll hand over for permit
I was
costs.
going to say the permit cost is $766. Yeah, so that will allow for the review and issuing of the permit, and then obviously that will be a 5-yearly renewal process.
Thank you.
Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. I note the draft bylaw is strongly references the Code of Practice for Temporary Traffic Management, which of course it always should have for the last 20 odd years. but that has been suspended and replaced by the New Zealand Guide to Temporary Traffic Management. It's part of the tsunami of central government changes, reducing the number of traffic cones. But this is a direct consequence of that, but there's no reference in here to that change, that we're effectively going out for consultation on what is an obsolete code of practice. What do you say about that?
Yes, it is, and I think that probably relates to the timing when we were actually writing and updating this bylaw was prior to the more recent government announcements about move to the New Zealand Guide. We can certainly look to, as part of this, I think, update the wording to include the New Zealand Guide and any subsequent I guess, standards that might come out.
So there is quite a difference between the two. The code of practice is only enforced by the road controlling authorities, and I know because I helped author it back in the 90s and right through. And it gives acceptable solutions to various problems, including stock movements. The new guide is a risk-based model. So if a farmer moving stock does a risk assessment under the new guide, how will that conflict and contrast to the proposed bylaw?
Yes, that's a very good question, and I don't have an answer for you right now in terms of how we would manage that. I think that would be something I'd take away and probably come back as part of bringing the bylaw back.
So from the questions Councillor McLaren's raising, so need to hold it up, but it could be considered by the panel with advice that would come through. Is that what you're indicating?
I think that would be the best option, is that if it comes back through the panel as part of that hearing process.
Sounds like Councillor McLaren might be quite a good person to have on that panel in that regard if he's got time. I'll just put that there. Okay. All right. Councillor Doody.
Joanne, just a clarification, please, with your permits, how long do they last for? Are they daily, weekly, monthly, what?
I think the bylaw says 5 years from memory. So 5 years.
Right. So that covers then with farmers that might have a stretch of road between one paddock and another that they can cross over using those mats.
Yes, that's correct. So they would get a stock crossing permit, and it would have some rules around how they operate that crossing. And we've got some really good examples here in very close to Rangiora Boys Road,
yes.
where we have very regular stock crossing and have had in locations a lot of issues with the seal deteriorating at those crossing points. So the use of mats actually helps significantly in terms of protecting the road surface as well. So,
but with the mats, they do have to remove them morning and night.
That's right,
Yes.
yeah, they do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Meetings.
Thank you. I note throughout the draft that it refers to cattle specifically as dairy cows right throughout. And whilst I understand, of course, dairy cows get moved daily because they must be milked generally twice a day. Do you regard, however, that maybe dairy cows might be just changed to cows? Because, beef cattle are also cows, and I would presume that drovers of beef cattle would have to take the same care and precautions when driving them on the road. Is there a reason for us just talking about dairy cows?
I will have to double check. I thought that we were only talking about dairy cattle in the section where we were specifically talking about milking units. I may have made a mistake, so I will go back and I will check that, and if necessary update the wording from dairy cattle to dairy cows to cattle as required.
Great, thank you. And also I note in 11.4 A and B in the draft, they seem to be quite similar. So where dairy cows are to be driven across the road, gateways on each side of the road must be sited or resited as nearly as reasonably practical opposite each other, which makes sense. Just get across the road, get out of it, and get them safe, fair. But then it also says, in B, where cows are to be driven along a road, gateways must be sited as nearly as reasonably practical to each other. They're pretty similar, is maybe some compaction maybe in that.
We could.
Or is that a different point that you're trying to make? Because I'm not clear.
One is going, your road is here. One is going from point A to point B on the same side. Or, sorry, 11.4A is when you are crossing across, whereas 11.4B is going along the road. So it's saying the same thing. And to be honest, I had it together, I split it out, and I'm quite happy to put it back together again.
So I see you've agonized on this yourself. Okay, gotcha. And just finally, if this draft is the one that's supposed to go out for consultation on page 288 and are diligent on the last bullet point on 6, which is like at the top of page 288, it says clarity for farmers and farm staff do when moving stock on or across roads. I maybe dropped that do, or I don't know what, it was an accidental typo, so I just removed that before it goes into a CD. Thanks.
Will do, thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Right, Councillor Powell.
Is Schedule A going to remain in the draft?
Yes, it would, because that would mean...
Any thought of including Boys Road in that?
Boys Road has active stock crossings on it at the moment.
Yes.
So, yes, I think you're right, that probably should include Boys Road. That is obviously a very busy road, and one that carries a lot of traffic, so yes, I think it should be in there.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Sure, Councillor Felton.
Thank you. Just in general terms, can we give consideration to the word droving to remain as a general sort of mechanism for moving stock, not so much on a day-to-day basis, but it is potentially useful for movement of herds, sheep down the road, cattle generally. Droving has a particular sort of characteristic, I suppose.
Quite agree.
Yeah, and it's I'd hate to be the councillor who got rid of droving locally, because it does have a use and a utility, particularly on seasonal movement of stocks and things. Yeah, thank you.
Is that not included in there now, droving?
When we were working through it and looking at updating it to plain language, we went for movement of stock rather than droving, because it's seen as a more modern and more broad term, but I'm happy to put droving back in.
I think it makes sense. Movement is fine, but including droving, for those that know what it means, our rural community particularly, I just wouldn't want to see it so watered down that they're not seeing what it is, so I certainly would support that.
One of the reasons is that droving actually implies you're moving the people with it, and working dogs, all that sort of thing. There's a whole lot of consideration that goes into droving, including sort of safety of traffic movements and things.
That's a long old term.
That's an old one.
Yep, so if we can incorporate, make sure it's kept in there. Deputy Mayor Redmond.
Thank you. The old bylaw was 2020, and from memory I think I sat on it. This bylaw has a 10-year review period. Are we reviewing the 2020 bylaw earlier than we normally would, and if so, why?
There's a process where it can be a 5 or a 10 year. Sylvia is more familiar with these things. I'm going to hand over.
The LGA requires us to review any new bylaw within 5 years. And then if the bylaw is unchanged, it would be 10 years.
And I think with this one, the issue with the existing bylaw really not covering and giving the ability to address the issues that we were seeing out on the network was an issue that was raised by roading, because we were having issues with things like mud on the road. We've had a number of situations and occurrences where we just haven't had a tool to be able to help with dealing with damage to booms and the issue with mud on the road and all these sorts of things. So also with the changes to traffic management and increased requirements, it was very much in our awareness that there were changes needed to this one.
So when you say mud on the road and damage to burns, are we talking extreme circumstances there? Because a bit of mud on the road one can anticipate would naturally happen, minor damage to berms, but what are we talking about?
In areas we are seeing major damage to berms, the likes of North Ear Road, we've seen significant damage to things like our footpaths. We've had a number of complaints from residents where they've had damage to their booms in rural areas, and trying to get those issues addressed has been extremely problematic.
So landowner compliance is not as great as it could be, as you're saying, even with conversation?
Sorry, landowner
Well,
compliance.
if you know where it's been caused by, so not able to address that through?
No, so in that situation it can end up that council has to go in and do repairs. That should not be the cost of council to do, so that's certainly what we are hoping this will help address, is give us the ability to be able to hold the person who has damaged the boom to account.
So a bylaw only can give a fine though, is that correct?
No, I understand this one will allow us to recover costs for repairs if required. And look, like everything, we always take a moderated view, and we're not going to go out and say there's 5 hoof print holes in your boom, so the farmer has to tidy that up. But people live in rural areas, so discretion is very much used.
But recovered costs would have to be, if they don't agree, that would have the only enforceability is through the courts if we want to take it that far, is that correct?
Yeah.
And just remind me, the threshold of taking cases to court, where does that sit at the moment? Who makes that call if we're going to cross that threshold and do that? If it's not, I guess it's a question I just had in our bylaw processes around prosecutions or taking, where does that decision rest?
We need to come back to you on that one at a later
I think it
time.
would be helpful so that we are understanding, and there used to be and whether there's a threshold of elected involvement and where that needs to be.
I would be assuming that would have to be some sort of report that would come back through council before it got to that point.
Or a subcommittee could be formed if needed, but just be worthy of consideration of what the process is for that. Okay. Any further questions, Councillor Bartle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, in the public consultation, are the farmers or the groups that have had some issues in the past being directly contacted, or is it just general public consultation? In other words, most farmers are often quite busy, they might not see some of the stuff in the media or being posted, so are you actually contacting them directly with some of this information to alert them to the issue?
We will be contacting all current and former permit holders. We have up-to-date contact details. I also plan to
with comms, talk to the likes of farmlands, PGG Wrightson about, can we stick a notice up on your front door or in your store notice board about what's going on, and possibly even some of the rural feeds.
That's great, thanks.
I was going to say there's Federated Farmers, there's there's a younger group, there's a number of them out there that would be helpful to spread the word with, so they're all
Yes.
aware of it.
Yeah, also working through those groups. Sorry, I assume that was a bit of a given.
All right. Okay, any further questions? So we've got a series of recommendations. Now there's a gap there for a couple to join the hearing panel. Already the Deputy Mayor, because he's the portfolio holder. I think Councillor McLaren might be useful if he's prepared to consider his name. Is there anyone else? Councillor Doody? Anyone else? We could have, don't have to.
Covered, that was covered, that's covered, that's fine.
Well, I think Councillor McLaren's interested, but a fourth would be fine. A fourth would be fine. Is you're happy to be considered?
I think the first choice should go to those councillors that are actually more rurally located, but I would be happy, but with only 2 councillors on there, I wouldn't want to.
Well, it's up to us how many we have. So if you're happy to, and Councillor Fulton and Doody, is that? Speak now or forever hold your peace, is that the term? All right, well, shall we go back to the recommendations then? So A, B, C then adds councillors Doody, McLaren and Fulton. And then the rest as is. Is there a mover and seconder for those? Moved to Councillor Manning, seconded by, I'll second it. Sorry, Councillor Goldsworthy, I didn't see your hand go up. You can second it for the purposes of the meeting. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Manning?
Look, just briefly, we've identified that there have been some shortcomings in the current bylaw, and you've gone and looked through and identified those and brought a draft back to us, which will hopefully address those. I think you've got a good group of people proposed to sit on the panel with some good rural and roading and regulatory experience, and yeah, it will be good to get the feedback from the public, and particularly those in the rural area that this will affect, and see how this looks for them. But you know, there are problems, particularly say North Air Road, as you explained. We hear all the time from residents there that are upset that their walkway is repeatedly damaged and that sort of thing. But yet it is a rural area, so we have to find a good balance, and hopefully this process will deliver that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy?
What more can I say?
Just in speaking to it, I support the bylaw. I think it makes good sense. However, I'm always keen to hear the feedback, and I think the ones that we've identified, certainly I had been aware where there have been sunburns in other localities which have been damaged, but it's about actually identifying who's caused it. If the tools add to it, and as long as it's not unreasonable, then I'm open to hearing it. I think the points Councillor McLaren raised are worthy of consideration. It's why I suggested you be on the panel. And look, just because it's rural, actually an urban voice is also helpful, because that's how we bring town and country together, actually. It's the great things I've always observed at our AMP shows is town and country coming together, and we both have this shared understanding. But the reality is we've still got farming operations in our district, and long may that continue, because the rural part of our community is particularly important. When our farms are doing well, we all do well. We don't want to put in place unnecessary bylaws which then hinder operations as well. But this one here, to me, has been in place for some time, and there is good reason for for it being in place, but one of working together rather than compliance. And that's the reason I asked the question around the thresholds for enforceability. I was having a good conversation with my good friend Nick Smith the other day, who said that in their case, a bylaw in their district, they've spent over $400,000 enforcing it, and all you can get from it is a fine. So there's some common sense that comes into play there, and that's why I wanted to just check around thresholds of where we would transition, and I think that should come back to here, or a panel, at least to sensitive check whether that's reasonable or not, because I'm not saying that our staff would, but actually that level of cost is just outweighing the benefits of a particular bylaw. I think bylaws should be in place to be deterrents, and I think that's why we put it there, to try and make sure that there is compliance ultimately. And it's good to know that in most instances we do. And Boys Road's a prime example where that works really well. And in terms of crossing the roads where there hasn't been underpasses put in place. So I support it. Any further speakers? Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you summed up that really well in terms of the convergence of urban and rural interests. I think particularly on our rural fringes, obviously with the predominance of lifestyle blocks and other larger lots, there's potential for a conflict there or misunderstanding. I think a bylaw in this case, as the Mayor says, is a potential tool for dealing with repeat offenders and people who fail to sort of basically to be good community-minded citizens. And I can think of some of those cases that we've alluded to where people are quite obstinate in the way that they use the roads, and they're obstinate to the concerns of their immediate neighbours. I find it quite incredible actually that you could run a business and not think that that you need to have your community on board to help you in your interests. So I'd be very pleased to be able to serve on the panel if that's the way it falls, but also trying to align the rural and urban interests without undue cost and regulation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doody, then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. We tend to say the farmers and things like that, but it's not always the landowner that's the issue. It is the share milkers there, and they change quite regularly. So it's just something we need to be aware of, that the share milkers are being told how to manage their stock movement a bit better than what they're doing, because they just like cowboys.
I guess just a warning to colleagues is be careful how much we express views, particularly. No, that's okay. It's just a general. We've got open minds, haven't we? We're maintaining throughout. All right. So, is there any Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I seem to recall chairing the 2020 bylaw when we thought we had a perfect bylaw and got it right. Obviously, we were wrong. I think farmers are very practical, and I quite enjoy hearing from them when they make submissions. They're always very positive and solution focused. So I think as far as the panel goes, I'm very happy with the names that are being put forward. I think we get a good balance, as Councillor Mealy's have said, regulation, rural, a pastoral lawyer and so on. So I think we've got a good balance on the panel, and we'll approach the topic with an open mind. I sometimes think we keep reinventing the wheel, so hopefully we won't be doing that again. So I look forward to working with all three of you. Thank you.
Okay, any further speakers? Right reply.
As a long-time
rural resident and someone who's worked on a lot of farms across the district in a former life. I appreciate the issues that we've brought up here, and I'm glad we're going to have the opportunity to address those in engagement with our community. So let's do it. Thank you.
We've already had a right of reply.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the point. Well, perhaps we'll just note it for further consideration. Proposed amendment: dairy cows must not be driven across or along a road during the hours of darkness. That's all right. Must not be. So doesn't that apply? That already applies. So is that not problematic?
So hold on, I'm getting a bit lost here. What are you proposing, Councillor Fulton?
Don't cows move along across roads during the hours of darkness in the morning?
So where is the problem in here?
The milking. The milking.
For morning milking,
That's what I'm talking about.
it's dark.
So it's always dark.
So is there a problem in the proposed wording?
How does someone move the cows across the road for morning milking during the hours of darkness? It happens all the time.
So what does the bylaw actually say?
It's not be driven across or along the road during the hours of darkness.
That is,
All the time during darkness.
that is in the current bylaw, that stock should not be moved during darkness. The idea is on a split unit, your cows should be on the same side as the road as your milking platform overnight and shifted across to the paddocks that are not on the same side of the road as the platform during daylight hours, because you would need to have and this is also in the now replaced code of practice. Stock, especially large stock, should not be moved during hours of darkness, because you get a Kiwi cross, they're mostly black, going across a road. If it's not lit, the chances of somebody hitting that at 100k an hour is high.
I think that should be tested through the panel, but the various industry organisations like Dairy NZ, Fonterra and other bodies, if we can send that, make sure they're aware of it, because it sits in the bylaw currently. So let's get that tested through that in the panel to consider that and to feed back. But what Diana just said is absolutely very true. We live in the early days coming on Tram Road, came across stock on the road in the dark. All of a sudden you've got eyeballs on you. You can't see them. I very nearly hit one myself. My sister did, and it went through the windscreen. And that's just how real it is. So it can be quite dangerous. But there's ways of, let's not, I think, leave that to the panel to consider and make sure that what's in place is realistic, rather than relitigating the words now. Are we all comfortable with that? So it's been moved, seconded, it's been debated, right of reply. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Declare that carried. All right. I'm proposing 8.3 we're not dealing with today, as was mentioned earlier. So I'm going to leave 8.4 right at the moment. We might come back to that after morning tea, but I feel we could deal with 8.5. So Sarah, I just think there might be a little bit of discussion, Chris, that will go on in that one there. If I'm reading the room right. Sarah, elected member, conference attendance.
I'll take the report as read for the upcoming conference. It's local, held in Christchurch. The final agenda is still being worked through, and I've had indication that all members are interested in attending. The Mayor may be able to enlighten us on a little bit more of the topics.
Okay, well, as the chair of the zone, we're putting that together at the moment, and it looks like we are going to have a good range of speakers. From my personal point of view, I'd be very happy for any elected member that would like to go to attend. It's local, so there's no accommodation costs, and just the travel costs to get in there, but I'm sure we'll look at how we manage that together as we have in the past with pooling and other things. So I think anyone that would like to go, if you just indicate, and we can just resolve that accordingly. Is it okay from your point of view?
For registration purposes, and
Yeah,
it would actually be nice to formalise it. Informally, we've had all indicate to go.
So who does, put it this way, who doesn't want to go?
Negative.
There's a topic coming up in PX soon, Chief Executive. Amazing how quickly you change your mind. Look, I'm relaxed. So
That the whole council united wants to support you as chair of the zone fund.
oh, thank you, Dean. It is going to be a good conference because we have managed to get a slot at the stadium, so we have the dinner there, and so there's the opportunity and also the new Metro Sports facility to go for a tour of that. So we are trying to put together, as good a conference as we can and bring, especially at a time when there's a lot of change proposed. So hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Happy to move, Mr.
So move with all councillors?
All councillors.
And the chief exec? No, we don't.
Second, I have a quick question.
Yes.
All right. So just out of interest, I remember last term there was conversation about hosting these conferences in non-member cities and stuff. From an LGNZ perspective, how is that looking for Christchurch effectively benefiting, although they're not currently a member of LGNZ?
Well, I've extended the invitation to Christchurch councillors to attend. So any elected member for Christchurch, they have to pay to go. Same with West Coast councils that are not currently members of LGNZ to also do that. Look, the real reason for hosting it in Christchurch is simply it's the easiest destination to get people into. If you want to get speakers in and ministers and others, you have to host it in a major centre. The more rural you go, it's not to say that we won't do that in the future, it's more difficult to get people in with flights, etc. Doesn't mean that we're all necessarily going to get ministers and other things in anyway. We've got a couple confirmed already, but I think it was also mentioned about accommodation. That's also something we have been talking about it at a local government LGNZ perspective as well, because just because of that shouldn't deter us from hosting it. For instance, a conference in Hamilton. The LGNZ conference is going to be in Rotorua this year. Next year may well be in Hamilton. So it's not just having it in the main centres just because they've got convention centres. So there is that. I don't know where the next zone conference will be held. That's the turn of Zone 6. We tend to alternate that. We were going to have it in the Chatham Islands.
It's been wonderful.
Yes, but we got quite a lot of feedback around the cost of getting there. So there are all those things that regularly take into account to make sure that the costs are realistic, but also it's the total cost of going. So it is something that is being considered to try and reduce that, so there's not any additional impost on councils. All right, okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Did you speak to that?
No, but I will briefly. Attending these type of events, I think, are part of the job, and I'm always keen to go, whether we have it funded by the council or pay for ourselves. There are educational and training benefits, and this is a very cost-effective opportunity. It's in the backyard. So I certainly endorse all colleagues attending, and I'm pleased that you all wish to attend, because I think you will all get something out of it. I find I always get something out, even if it's only one thing, from attending these type of functions. And it's also supporting the chair of Zone 5, if I've got that right. And so I look forward to seeing you all at the event.
Thank you. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to point out, my question wasn't a criticism of it. It's just, it's constantly raised, so I'd like to keep bringing it to a fore as to the reasons why we choose these locations as opposed to others. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've found the networking and the information that I receive from these conferences completely outstanding, to be perfectly honest. I always walk away challenged in my own thinking and perspectives, and I think that's a really healthy place to be, that we're constantly reflective on how we view the world as well, and that it's not all, we're not going there to just be fed information and not think about things. We're being there to challenge and to debate and lift the standard across the sector. So I am strongly encouraged that everyone wishes to attend as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Right of reply?
I have no objection to the CE attending.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted now. I put that, all those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. And look, I hope you enjoy your attendance. And look, R&P, we had a discussion last week around rural and provincial, that is, in the All of Government series. It had been discussed at LGNZ about taking out the May meeting because of cost and trying to reduce that impost on councils. Well, there was some reasonable feedback about that, so we put it to a vote at the end, and over 70% voted in favour of keeping the May cycle. It just showed, and in person, because we gave options of online, in person, or shift it to conference, the main conference, and have a longer lunch on the Friday, but very strongly endorse there. So when we go around councils, and if councils are potentially considering their membership of LGNZ, it's the total costs that they raise, and there had been feedback that's been given. So it was interesting there, but that was the view that was given very strongly about that. So that will now be in place for May. If any of you are interested in going to those conferences, can you let Sarah know? And between Sarah, Jeff and I will figure out who we can get there. At the moment it's myself plus one plus CE. So I know Jason came to the last one this last week, so you can let me know, or via Sarah, and we can make sure we try our best to accommodate you to get up to them. It's a great opportunity, but we'd like to get in early so we get accommodation and other things sorted and get the early flights to keep the cost down. All right, thank you everyone. If we now break for morning tea, what's the time? If we're back by 20 past, it gives everyone 15 minutes. All right, thank you. Thanks, Sarah. around, if, to make this a little easier, I'm prepared to signal that when this comes up that I am considering moving A and K. So it just perhaps gives an indication of where that might, where some of the discussion might go. If there's a seconder for that, I might add. Chris, thank you for your report. I leave you to go into it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, councillors. I'll take the report largely as read. Follows our 9th of December workshop to council where options are presented for either an independent member or chair to the audit be appointed to the Audit and Risk Committee. Feedback from that workshop was to bring a paper back to council to consider an independent member for the purpose of this report. Benefits are laid out within the report as well as the costs. Benefits can be broadly summarised around independent and objective advice that a member could bring, providing specialist skills in areas of finance, audit, risk management and governance expertise, as well as the ability to bring independent sector perspectives and insights through consulting work or other governance work that an independent may hold. I think we've also briefly talked to demonstrating that we're committed to good governance and transparency and scrutiny within our finances. The cost there are estimated at between 20 to 25,000 based on other independent members that we've that have been publicly available and advertised within the sector. The report outlines some options. I think there's an option to decline, there's an option to approve, and within the approve option there is 2 sub-options, one to be for a shorter term and one to be for the remainder of the triennium. Position description and process to carry out any appointment is also covered briefly within the report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Chris. Just in light of the, I suppose, the indication in this report that potentially there might be some sort of deficiency or shortcomings in the knowledge of the Audit and Risk Committee members, and therefore the need to potentially appoint someone, an independent. Has any consideration been given to upskilling or training said existing members out of our existing budget? And governance training, directorship training, and the like?
We can certainly do that. I think there's consideration to that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Goldsworthy.
With your permission, I believe Councillor Ward was before me.
Oh, I'm sorry, she was too. Pardon me. Sorry. Councillor Ward.
As the portfolio holder, I hope you have patience for a few questions, please, Mr. Mayor, that I have. First one is 3.6. What is wrong with our governance process, please?
The report does not say there's anything wrong with the governance process. It's talking further about strengthening it and the perspective that an independent would provide. It's not talking to deficiency.
So following on from that, 3.7, what risk management, internal controls and financial reporting processes are lacking as of now?
It's a very broad question, Councillor Ward. One that would have to would require quite a detailed answer. I think you can probably refer to some of our external audit reports in terms of where our internal controls may need to be improved. I'm just trying to think whether any of those actually refer directly to our risk management practices. I don't think they do currently, but we could look at an independent view into that, but our risk management processes are going through a process to be further strengthened over time. Sorry, what was the third part of your question?
The processes, the financial reporting processes. What is lacking as of now?
So we get an independent audit that says they comply with GAP. And they're fairly stated. That is to a level. That is to the level of an audit opinion, which is reasonable assurance. It doesn't look at every transaction. It doesn't look at. It's not absolute assurance. Is probably what I'm trying to say. So it just depends on what level of assurance you're looking for, really.
Yes, well, here's 3.8, the advice of Bancorp Treasury Services. Is that not sufficient for guidance to our CEO and you as finance manager? What more do we require?
So the guidance Bancorp provide is limited to Treasury. It's a very small subset of our finances, a very important subset of our finances.
Right, and 3.9, are we not already providing governance and consulting services to other councils through the present organisations that we belong to? Why do we need another opinion to tell us what we already do well?
I'll just answer that one. So, this is about the third, maybe the fourth time we've brought an independent, raised an independent onto the Audit and Risk Committee. It started a number of years ago when there was a paper that came out from the Office of the Auditor General, which recommended having an independent on an audit committee. Basically, they've put the strengths, pros and cons for that. And so this paper here is to once again put it in front of the committee to debate the merits of having an independent who would, if it is an independent, genuinely would expect them to be an independent on a number of organisations where they bring a multiple skill set to the table for discussion. An independent can form a number of options. They can be an independent without voting rights, with voting rights. They could be chair, or they could be just an independent that sits on and provides comment when required. So that's the rationale bringing the report. We're not, the staff in no way saying there's any issues with the current governance. And yes, you're correct, we have reporting processes which include independent audit. We also have an independent on our Treasury Committee where the staff feel as though that additional expertise would be required in terms of its investments and liabilities. So that's the basis of the report. It's really up to the council to debate and determine themselves where they feel they're positioned in terms of their governance duties and whether they want independent on the committee.
Thank you. Well, we have intelligent people with different valuable experiences to give. We have full and frank debate at meetings based on local knowledge. Why do we need to go to an independent person to tell us what we already know and what we already do very, very well and are the top of the councils in the country?
I think for Chris's benefit, he doesn't have to answer unless he wants to. That's a very good debating point you might want to use and hold off till the discussion, but it's up to Chris if he wishes to answer that.
Sorry, Chris.
I'm just going to leave it, I think.
Hold on, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully a little bit more of a simpler question to answer. I note that the budget request was $20,000 to $25,000. Does that include recruitment fees? And how would the process of presumably recruiting a specialist look in terms of would you look around audit and risk and assess the capabilities that are currently already there and attempt to fill a shortfall? Or will there be a conversation amongst the audit and risk and where we feel that we feel short? Or how would that process look like to identify exactly what we need in an independent member?
It's a great question, Jason. great question, Councillor Goldsworthy, sorry. I think self-assessment is the best case in terms of for an audit and risk committee to understand what skills and experience they would particularly be looking for. So I think the second option that you outline is the most likely way forward. There is a suggested recruitment process there in terms of appointing a panel, but nothing further from that point after it. The costs are based off 3 to 4 positions that have been advertised. It doesn't include recruitment costs. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Means, was it Vicky?
Did you see me?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Yes.
and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, how many councils do not have independent members on their audit and risk committees at this point? Because I saw some historic numbers in this report, I think dating back to 2020, was it? But I didn't see anything that referred to now, like.
The ones in the report are the most recently reported ones that have been reported publicly. I suspect there'd be even more independents since that time.
Because, yeah, that was like 2019, 2020. Okay. And so as it stands now, we're able to get bespoke advice where there are perceived knowledge gaps. And if we were to appoint an independent member, what area of expertise would you consider would be of benefit? And would that not still mean that we would still have to procure independent advice in other areas as needs be?
I think we've got to be careful in terms of how we frame independent advice. I think this is a governance position with someone with experience across a sector. They probably have areas in which they are specifically knowledgeable and have a strong set of skills, but they're not a consultant in that regard. So, I mean, we would still seek independent advice in the areas that we require it naturally, whether that's engineering related, accounting related,
legal,
treasury,
HR, health
legal,
and safety.
HR, anything. So I think there's still going to be advice within the organisation that is required. This person brings an independent lens from a set of skills that they provide. You probably talked about skill set. Typically, you see someone with a finance, risk management type background, strong governance background. Generally, this is the larger, more predominant skills, but equally others seek someone of a legal background because they decide that might be, and I think it comes back to Councillor Goldsworthy's question, that seems to be when they've actually self-assessed where they think those skills are they require.
I can update you on the recent stats, and it was taken in 2020, so there's been no recent update of the 78 councils, which is 69 had independent memberships on the audit and risk or equivalent. 48% were chairs. There were about, that makes 9 councils that don't have independents.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank
And our
you.
neighbours all have these, or?
Phil?
Thank you. Maybe something Chris or Jeff could answer. How many of those councils do the independent members have a vote?
From my experience, the majority of them, but that's only anecdotal.
Right, we're talking audit and risk here, where there may be a skill set missing. How do you apply this to other committees, such as utilities and roading, where none of us are engineers, for example?
Oh, that's just a broader application of the use of an independent for a different purpose, like we're seeing with the current uptake in water services committees, for example, and then pulling in people with engineering or regulatory backgrounds as independents on those types of committees. So there is broad application, but it's probably beyond the scope of what we're discussing here today.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've always asked that myself, but why they choose one committee and not another. But I think with all the other aspects, they do, we seek a lot more consultancy where there's skill sets required. both in engineering and in the recreation area. So, but it's more around the oversight of the total governance aspect, which the Audit and Risk Committee view and have delegations from Council.
Thank you. Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Chris. In regards to the current contract with Bancorp in regards to the Treasury services that they provide, how much information do they actually have or access to the information around the Audit and Risk Committee, and can they actually, or do they have the capability of providing the right advice to this committee, and can they expand on their current advice that they provide to this committee?
So Bancorp's advice is purely around Treasury. They provide us with quarterly reporting around that. In the past, I understand they've attended meetings here to give economic updates and updates on the likes of our debt position, forecast where we see interest rates going, and bespoke advice in terms of what we should do. Sorry, a further question is what more could they do? Was that?
So effectively, could they effectively fill the position that you're recommending here as an independent, not necessarily as a committee member or sit on the committee, but effectively as able to provide independent advice?
Their advice is very much in one particular sub-skill set and sort of the broader finance spectrum.
So they wouldn't be an appropriate body to actually approach or organisational approach?
Yeah, I haven't seen it elsewhere.
Okay, thank you.
Comment.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Powell.
Thanks, Chris. Should cybersecurity be specifically included in the jurisdiction of the Audit and Risk Committee, given that it is such a major risk these days? And it is, I couldn't see it in the delegations or
I think it's a really
risk
good
management.
Yep, it's a really good point. Yep, and I think we can. The PD that's there is there with the ability for it to be amended, should you wish to do so.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of an oversight there. We actually have the cyber report that comes quarterly to the Audit and Risk. There'll be one at the next meeting in the 18th. Oh no, it's 16th.
I think it's the 17th, but next meeting. Yeah.
So would you think that cybersecurity is one of those areas that knowledge and expertise might need to be beefed up on the Audit and Risk Committee?
I think that comes back to that self-assessment piece. I don't want to sit here and assess on your behalf. I think it's best that you sort of look at your own skills and experience and reflect on that and say, well, this is what we think we want here based on going through a process. There is assessments for committees and that are around, I think, generally through the Institute of Directors. They have them for boards where you can actually go through them, and each person fills it out and works out what their skills and experiences are and marry that all up and find they think they want some support. So that might be something that could be a good process if you were going that way.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, any further questions? I'm going to test the meeting with moving A and K. Seconded, Deputy Mayor. I recall at the start of the term asking during our discussions whether there'd be appetite for this matter being considered. Previous times this matter has come up through council, it certainly has had strong opinions in the fact that there is a tension between being elected to make the call versus having a degree of independence. And at the table, I remember saying at the time that I've sat on boards, I've sat on a number of boards actually, and actually I fear nothing from having an independent member there. And in fact, most of the time they're not voting, but they do add a range of viewpoints that actually sometimes we don't always consider, and where they've got financial expertise. But I think I've thought about it carefully, and I appreciate Chris and Jeff bringing this to us because it does need to be resolved. And so, notwithstanding the questions that have been raised, and they're good questions, it's a matter for the council to carefully determine. It's a risk not having an independent member, in the sense that audit do like to see that. When we've done our work with the LGNZ Excellence Program, it also picked this up. And we are a bit of an outlier with respect to a number of councils who have done this, but there are a range of reasons why I think the status quo, personally, I'm satisfied with, and it'll be up to the council to determine whether you agree or not. Firstly, we are performing exceptionally well as a council. We have looked at our costs. We've have a managed and balanced budget with respect to how we manage our debt program and our infrastructure program. Our rates have been continually one of the lowest in the country, and also with our staff, not only with our chief executive, but we have just recently, within the last period of time, recruited an ex-staff member of Audit New Zealand, and Chris. I think in both with the two, we have experienced chartered accountants, as well as other expert finance staff, and we take independent advice from Bangor. So when I've looked at other councils around the country, and I think to myself, what sort of expertise have they got internally, I'm not sure it's entirely comparing apples with apples. And that's the bit that's persuaded me for an extra 25,000, what value is that member going to add that we haven't already got here? Or if we felt that there were, if Audit were bringing through a whole range of concerns, I would be, and around our internal systems, I would be seriously wanting to put an independent member there, but they're not. And I sit on those meetings with Audit. Joan has the portfolio, and thank you for the work that you do in that space. But I'm just not seeing it's going to add the value right at the moment, and especially when we're under a degree of scrutiny as to what costs we are offering. A number of organisations I'm sitting with are seriously asking the same question at the moment as to whether or not they would continue with such roles. And that may well be something that's contemplated by the councils in due course, but it's up to them. You have to look at the individual circumstances of a particular organisation. In this instance, I think we have excellent processes in place that may not exist in the future. It's reliant on the expertise and excellence of our staff, and we are continually judged as in the higher echelons there. That doesn't mean that we are complacent, because I don't think we are, but if there was risk there and that would mitigate that, I would be open to that being considered. But at this point in time, in this snapshot, I think the staff are bringing it to us, but certainly my view that I think we have enough in place now that I don't think it would add the value. So that's why I've moved A and K. Seconder, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd actually written down A and K before you mentioned A and K earlier. I've sort of been sitting on the fence. I can see both sides of the argument. For me, I don't think our system is broken, and that it doesn't need fixing as such. I'm also conscious that the electors have voted for us, not an unelected appointee. And to make that even worse, if we gave that unelected appointee a vote, that's something that I'm not happy with. If we had a gap that an independent would bring skills that we don't have, then I could see there could be a case for that. given that we seem to be a high-performing council, and I think the electors elected a very good council, myself excluded from that. So I think we do have a good council. I think we have a range of skills, and I think we're working very well. But the other thing we have excellent staff, some of whom are sitting in the room down back there or up the front. And I think it's a compliment to the staff that we don't need an independent member to hold you to account. Hopefully we will hold you to account. That's our job. I sort of likened it to students buying the principal a cane. Because
it might be interesting.
As a little analogy here, we hold you to account, not the students as such. As governors, I think we have a balance of skills. We don't need a cane. We operate very well and have a good relationship with staff. And as I said, I believe everyone is performing at a high level. So I'm happy to support the current proposal A and K. Having said that, times could change, and I am open to looking at it again. I've looked at this ever since I've been on the council, and I remember having a conversation with the former CE, Jim Palmer, who also would put this forward periodically. And so it's not new that it comes to us. It's been dealt with before, and in previous years the proposal has been unsuccessful. And I would suggest to colleagues there is no need to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy, followed by Councillor Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the interest of a good debate, I would like to propose an amendment, if I may.
Sure.
I will be seeking a seconder for A and C through to J.
Is there a seconder for that? Seconded Councillor Powell. So would you like to speak to that now? You've got to move and seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to prefix this statement by saying that currently I do not observe any deficiencies with the ordinance risk or structure. But I suppose it comes back to the age-old acronym of the more I learn, the less I know. And inadvertently through life and our experience and our combined learnings, we all have blind spots. And that's just a factor of being human. We can't possibly consider all specific circumstances. I acknowledge the concerns around non-elected members making decisions. However, I also remind my colleagues that there is vastly more votes on the council side in this committee if we're discussing one member. At the end of the day, any decisions made at audit and risks, regardless of their vote, will still be council decisions. And I also use an analogy of, and I acknowledge that our structures and our systems are well placed now, but bringing it to a local government concept, if we let the really good roads continue to run without regular maintenance, checking and testing, they will eventually come into disrepair. And that's no one around this table that will be leading down that path. The independent position in my observations will be the balance to the fact that every 3 years, we don't necessarily know who's going to be on audit and risk. Depending how we structure it, we might even have this independent member carry over terms, which means they'll be able to enlighten the new audit and risk members as to what the previous audit and risk member had done. I echo the concerns from my colleagues that we don't want to be told how to suck apples. But I would possibly suggest that this person might teach us how to make jam rather than suck apples. They will bring a different perspective, a different skill set. And I think we can all benefit by lifting our standards by having an independent member on it. Thank you.
Thank you. The second, Councillor Powell.
I endorse Councillor Goldsworthy's comments. This is at this point in time, and yes, we do have good elected members, we have good staff, but Chris could resign next week. Don't, please. So we just don't know, you know, what could happen. You know, somebody could get hit by the big green bus that rolls around Rangiora or whatever. We just don't know what might happen. To me, the key word is independent. It's not a reflection on the staff, their expertise, their dedication and their integrity, because we really do highly value that. And it's not a reflection on members. It is recognition that they may not necessarily be experts in all the fields. With what Councillor Redmond said around that, you know, we're elected and person would have a vote who hadn't been elected. But members of the council are actually elected by the public, not necessarily because of their knowledge and expertise in the field of audit and risk, but for other reasons. Having an external auditor, an external member independent member would provide that external perspective and the skills and recent experience in audit and risk that members may not have. To me, there is a cost per meeting attended, yes, but there is also the cost if something is not picked up and not all options are explored. Perception is also part of it, as it may provide a level of reassurance to the public that this important area is not just in-house. And also perhaps some reassurance to staff that decisions have that degree of having all the information available, the right questions have been asked, and there is that little bit of independence in there. And so for that reason, I mean, I've gone backwards and forwards, but to me, part of the key is, do we keep having this conversation every 3 years? Because as I said, things can change. And yeah, I don't think there's anything to fear by members, or staff for that matter. It is actually just providing that expertise and that current knowledge of this is what they do, these people, this is what they do day in and day out. So there's nothing to fear, but having said that, of course the key is would be recruiting the right person. So that is why I support the amendment.
Thank you. Yeah.
So not speaking to either of these, but just a point of clarification. If circumstances change and we wish to revisit this decision, whatever it might be later, is there any impediment to that? Like, is there a stand-down period after this decision where the topic can't be brought back to council? Like, let's say we decided to...
6 months, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I'm thinking of a road speed limit in Oxford, and we were told we couldn't bring it back for a year. Is there something that would prevent us?
In council, 6 months.
You can always review anything. You could always bring this back.
So if we lost key staff expertise or something like that, then would...
Yeah, you could do that.
That's what I was personally going to observe in a response in due course, was can always be revisited. So I had Councillor Doody indicate. Do you want to speak? Yes, I could, because moved and seconded, but you're talking to the amendment, not the substantive motions, just so you're clear about that, but I'm sure you'll be able to weave your comments in. Okay, so just hold fire, because Councillor Doody's first. Well, if you'd like to, Joan, that's fine, and then I can weave that in later on if you want to speak to once it becomes, the amendment becomes the motion.
I think an independent chair is also a risk.
I happen to know that Ashburton Council had an independent chair, and somebody came in from Wellington and tried to tell the locals what Wellington wanted and not what without local knowledge, and it was a nightmare. So I think having an independent chair is also a risk. So I will speak later if I can on the other motion, but if I get an opportunity for the other motion. So I will not be supporting the amendment.
Okay. Further speakers, I had Councillor Doody. Did you also wish to speak, Councillor Fulton? Yep, Councillor Doody.
Thank you. It's been very interesting just sitting around and listening to people's thoughts, but at first I was against doing this, but quite truthfully, I just think we need to seriously look at what an independent person would be on this committee, and also it is a safeguard for our staff as well. So I will actually would be agreeing with looking at doing an independent member.
Councillor Fulton.
Thank you. For me here, this is a question of not just the expertise that we have implicitly among our elected members and within our staff, but it's about our openness to sort of a process of what I sort of call lifelong learning. And I know that's often applied to children and families and something. It's a very powerful thing for me. And I'm a journalist, been a journalist a long time, and I probably have a sort of a natural reluctance or scepticism in dealing with so-called experts, and particularly around board tables, community groups. But actually, I'm informed by my recent experience in actually being involved with community groups, and sometimes I see the need for that outside view, not just as a circuit breaker, but someone with knowledge and life experience, and sometimes a calming voice. And look, I think we've operated very well as an audit and risk committee, from what I can tell. Again, myself excluded for performance evaluation, but I've come right round to the view that actually we need to be open to outside evaluation, and we need to be open to learning on the job, because we don't come into this job as the experts, and we will never be experts. It's not an implicit reflection on the people around this table or those who'll be here in the future, but you've gathered by now that I actually I support this amendment. I'd like to commend Councillor Goldsworthy for taking what might have sort of seemed quite a brave position. I think he spoke superbly to it, and also the seconder, Councillor Powell, as well. So I'm willing to support this amendment. Thank you.
Further speakers, I've got Councillor Cairns, then Bartle. Just so we know we're speaking to the amendment. Yep.
Just to clarify, the recommendation doesn't talk about a chair, is that correct? It just talks about a member. Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's clarity. So effectively, if this recommendation based on the amendment would go ahead, and it would be just a committee member as opposed to a chair. Prior to this meeting, I was sitting on the fence with this, but I looked at the $25,000 actual cost of it and going, that's not a great deal of money over a whole year in terms of having somebody that has got a specific skill that actually can provide some advice to this committee. I personally don't sit on audit and risk, but I enjoy coming along and learning. And I see the real value of actually having an independent person in this committee. The only reservation I actually had was the actual, the term, remainder of the triennium, and whether or not that was possible to be amended, that effectively it could be, say, for a year, and then be reviewed after a year as a potential trial, just to see as to how it works. And maybe I could throw that back at the amended motion mover, that they could actually throw that into the mix and amend B as a yearly term to be then reviewed from there on in. But I actually commend the three councillors across from us in terms of Councillor Goldsworthy, Powell and Fulton in terms of their speaking to this recommendation. I think they spoke extremely well, and I would be voting in favour of the amended motion.
Just to be clear, it's C that's moved, it's not B.
Yeah, sorry.
And C is for an 18-month period
Sorry.
with a review. So I think that picks up your point.
Sorry.
Yes. Councillor Bartle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I too sort of was a bit on the fence, read this discussion. There's pros and cons, clearly. The savings of the expenditure of 25,000, absolutely in proportion, is not a lot of money, but it is still an extra cost. But I do note the current good practice in local government, as it states in the report in 3.1, is that the Office of the Attorney Auditor General has published regular good practice guidance, audit and risk committees. And it goes on to say the publication strongly recommends the appointment of an independent member to the audit and risk committees. And so with that as being a fairly strong statement, and the fact that we are a bit of an outlier and that we're one of only a handful now that don't do it. And I think the big part of this for me is public perception. I think from the general public's point of view, if we're recommended by the Auditor General to do this and we don't, it's not a good look publicly. So I think it shows the public we're listening to good practice and we're following good practice. And I'm not saying it's needed, and it's certainly it's not the dispersion on any staff or other members. I just think somebody neutral isn't going to do us any harm, but I do think it might be worth considering a review point for this down the track, and maybe that could be in there. So with that, I will be supporting the amendment.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Well, just speaking to the amendment, there were just some points there around, look, it can be added at any time, so it doesn't matter whether it's not in place now or later. Look, I'm not personally going to die in a ditch one way or t'other. I've seen it work really well on boards that I sit on, as I observed before. But in the climate we were in, financially, there is a lot of cost and a lot of extra things that we're being looked to do. The issue of audit comes up often at local government New Zealand, and whether we are when we are high performing, there has been a lot of discussion actually in an LGNZ perspective about the requirements that are being put on councils, and there is discussion where you are in the high performing category like ourselves in this instance, whether we are going to be, well, whether we should be required to have such additional requirements on us in the future. That's not to say that there will be change, but they are talking about the need for auditing every year when you're in that category. There has been some discussion about stepping it. So the emphasis of audits resource can go on the councils that aren't in the high performing category, because their resource is limited as well. And same with independent advisors. There are only so many around too, and so where those qualities can be found and where they should be directed to. My reservation is just at this snapshot, I don't think it's personally needed, but that's not to say that we shouldn't reconsider that in the future. But if that's what council wants to do, I'm quite happy to not be the outlier out there in the discussion, and I think the opportunity of that being tested further, but put forward the other view. I was hearing a lot of views from colleagues who were certainly reserved about it and not as supportive as perhaps had been indicated when did interviews earlier in the year. So to find consensus was to indicate that at the start, but if council resolves differently, I'm more than happy to support that. Councillor Mealings.
Thank you. I've been sitting on the fence and listening to all of you talk here. I could have just about flipped a coin on this. Look, we are a high-performing council. We're the first to be audited for a reason, because we're usually the easy one because we get it right. I've never, since I've sat around this table, seen an unmodified opinion in my time, which means that we're getting it right unless I've missed something. But you know, if we go down the route of appointing an independent external member, we're still going to need to procure advice from time to time on things that we don't have the expertise sitting around the table for, just like we do now. So we are not going to lessen the need for any of that. And as Councillor Powell just pointed out, you know, IT is something missing. Cybersecurity, you know, in the world we live in, you know, there are emerging threats all the time. So I was prepared to say at this point I didn't see any further benefit from an independent member. However, C, which is what's being moved here, is talking about an independent member being appointed for a period of 18 months. So this is a trial period. And at the end of the, you know, prior to the end of that term, we'll review it. So whilst I personally think that we have the skills and expertise in the organization right now needed to make good decisions, I don't really, you know, I've done the math. It doesn't really matter which way I voted because there's 6 people sitting here anyway, so it really doesn't matter. So again, I'm not gonna die in a ditch either. I really am fairly agnostic about this. So, you know, this option still gives us the opportunity, you know, it's giving us the opportunity to test drive it. We're not putting this person in as a chair. They're not going to be displacing any of our chairs. They're not going to, you know, they're only going to have 1 vote. So
Can I have a vote?
I think if
I didn't think they had a
I don't know if they're voting members or not. Sorry, just, but even if they did have a vote, which I don't know, and I'm still agnostic and I'm speaking to this motion, so it's still my thing. But even if they did, there's only 1 vote, 1.
No.
So that's not going to sway anything. Yeah. Otherwise, there's not, hold on, Joan, I'm still speaking, please.
Yeah, just hold on.
Look, we have the opportunity to revisit this, and there's already 6 people sitting here, there's 11 of us, so if 5 of us went against it, it's still gonna be carried, so it really doesn't matter, it's gonna happen. So I'm just saying
Joan,
that
just please leave.
I don't have a problem with whatever the will of this table wants. I don't even sit on this committee. I think we have excellent decision-making that's come out of this council over the years that I've sat here, and personally, I don't think that we really need this right now, but there may come a time that we do. And if the feeling of the people, particularly those that are actually sitting on A&R, which more that are sitting at the table than not have expressed support for this, then who am I to not give credence to that? So I'm willing to support this based on that consensus.
Thank you. It's recommended in I that there is with full voting rights. Is that normal, Chris? There's a mix around the country with just independents and some with voting rights and some not. Is that normal?
It's been moved with I.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just checking.
I said anecdotally, I think the question was asked earlier, and I think, yeah, from what I've seen, yes.
Can I speak?
Yeah, you can ask a question.
My question is, why would we have somebody come in to tell us what we already know and question our expertise of our staff and the intelligence of our
Joan,
council?
that's not really a question. It's a
and
debating
then
point.
give them voting rights.
Joan,
the question is,
Joan,
why would we give them voting rights when they're not elected? That's my question.
Well, that's a debating point, really. So it's not really something that we can address here. Look, there is an amended piece here. Jeff, did you want to add something?
Yeah, look, the recommendations are done like a smorgasbord of selection. So if you wanted to have to delete something, it was an option. If you didn't want to, something in. But as Councillor Gosbury's done, he's elected to go from C to J, and that puts in the voting right for the independent member. Some councils even have the independent member as a chair, but they don't have voting rights. So you can have a smorgasbord of what you feel is right for the committee. Some will have just the independent on the committee as just an advisor. But this one here goes for everything except for chair, just to make it clear.
Just to move our end seconder, just noting the concern that's been raised may get a higher majority if it didn't have that with voting rights. Are you prepared to consider that?
I would concede aye, yes. Are you happy to second?
I'm thinking.
Noting that it will be in review for 18 months regardless.
That's true. You could use that argument either way.
Yeah.
In terms of it would be in review. My only question would be around, would we get the calibre of person and personality if they didn't have voting rights? And I don't know the answer to that question.
If it didn't have it there, you might get more, but look, you might just carry it the way it is. So it's entirely up to you, but I would personally be prepared to support if it didn't have aye there.
Okay, I'll go without aye.
It's a risk-free trial.
It is a trial.
Okay, so that probably addresses most of the concern that's been raised in the debate. People can vote whichever way they like, of course. Anyone else wish to speak before?
Just a note on.
You've already spoken, Councillor Fulton.
That's okay. Yeah.
Did you?
No.
Did you want to say anything, Councillor? Okay, you don't have to.
Statement rather than question.
Yeah, it's still in debate, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to support the original motion for all the reasons that you outlined, Mr. Mayor. As an auditor, I used to have regular meetings with OAG in Wellington. I understand how they operate and what they look at, and I accept their general recommendation that an independent person is appointed. For all the reasons that we've talked about here, we don't actually appear to need it here. While we talk about it's only $25,000, that's a phenomenal amount of money to many families in our district. And for us to just say, oh look, let's just do it, just to tick a box that isn't actually really essential household expense, doesn't sit well with me. While I would welcome independent advice on all of the committees, as we noted earlier, I think we have had a clear mandate from the ratepayers to be fiscally prudent in everything that we do, and therefore the original motion sits more comfortably with me at this time. I don't think we should put too much weighting on what other councils do, because everyone who sits around these tables right up and down the country is at the whim of the voters, and it can be quite a mix of skills. And as we've already discussed, we have, I think, the necessary skills to manage all matters that come before the committee. So that's all I wanted to highlight there.
Okay, Jason, Councillor Goldsworthy, I'll allow you a right to reply. It doesn't normally always happen, but I'm happy to allow one. No, it's right. Not to just you, Bruce, but to the whole debate.
Thank you for the extension of the privilege for a right of reply, and I appreciate that this has been a robust and in some ways soul-searching conversation to have, and that there is reservations around this, and by no means do I feel that the idea of an independent member is just ticking a box. And I do note that there is a cost associated with this. Divided over the ratepayer, it equates to $1 a year per ratepayer. In other conversations that we have had regarding costs, I would argue that having an additional layer or a buffer to potentially prevent something, I'm not saying that it's guaranteed, but there is a risk in not having one, there's a risk in having one. And it's up for each individual member to really consider whether $1 a year per household is worth the risk or mitigation of risk. That's what it comes down to. We were elected in a tough circumstance, and I by no means approach this thinking, oh, it's just $25,000, like, we'll get this through easy. Because what we're actually being asked right now is actually to step back from the table for a second and self-reflect. And I go back to my oath that within my own ability and experience and skill, I feel I would be serving the district better by ensuring a longevity of governance that doesn't necessarily rely on the benefit of fortune every election. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to thank you, Councillor Goldsworthy. I'm going to put it's been a good discussion. I'm going to put the amendment, just being clear that it's C through to J, excluding I now. So I put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary?
No.
Clear that carried, that division.
Feel like someone in past.
So, we're talking about whether you're voting for C to J, excluding I, and whether you're in favour of that or not. So, going alphabetically, Councillor Bartle?
Yes.
Councillor Cairns?
Yes.
Councillor Doody? Yes. Councillor Fulton?
Yes.
Councillor Goldsworthy?
Yes.
Councillor McLaren?
No.
Councillor Mealings?
No.
A bob each way.
It's on 18 months, yes.
Councillor Powell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rebin?
No.
Councillor Ward?
No.
Mayor Gordon?
Yes.
8-3 in favour.
So the amendment now becomes the substantive motion. Is there any further speakers to that? You may.
I accept. This is
Being
democracy.
clear that the motion is now with an independent member. So,
That's right.
Yep.
I accept this is a democratic process, and that is fine. I would ask, how much is it going to cost to actually, in addition to the 25,000, to actually appoint someone? You know, we're going to have HR, and we have to pay them, so there's probably another 10 grand there, so on and on it goes. So all I can say is, the people have voted, I don't agree, and that's just fine, and we'll cope with that, and we'll see what happens.
Any further speakers? Well, I can exercise my right to reply as things. I've moved the original, but just that I did listen to the discussion, and I personally, as I mentioned before, wasn't going to die in the ditch. If I was gone, then I said I would vote in favour, which is what I did. I strongly believe in the elected council. I don't mind there being an independent voice there at all, but a vote is a step that I would like to see trialled over the 18 months. We'll see how it goes. And if it's performing well, we can review that. But the vote being there was the piece that I struggled with. The financial aspect, it's right. What you said, Councillor Goldsworthy, but equally so was Councillor McLaren. And it's an additional cost to us. It was perhaps one of the reasons why it made me think carefully about it. But when we had the discussion in October, when I interviewed each of you, you were keen for this to be explored. Pleased it's come up. Now we can go through the process of seeing if we can find someone suitable for that, and there's a process indicated there, and let's give it a go. As I said, on other boards I sit on, the independent member does add value, and I'm sure there will be value, but there are reasons, I think, quite evenly balanced on the rationale of why we should and why we shouldn't, and it's been a really good discussion on balance. So let's give it a go, because that's what we likely, well, assuming the amendment, which is now the substantive motion, is passed, and I think it will pass. But thank you, Councillor Goldsworthy, for testing that, and Councillor Powell, but also showing the flexibility around I to get a better majority in that respect. But as was mentioned, it's certainly no reflection on our staff at all, because actually we have exceptional staff, but there's no problem in having independence at all, and in fact testing those boundaries, it is good governance at the end of the day, but it's a decision for this body to make. So with that, I'll put the substantive motion now. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary?
No.
Declare that carried.
Yes, it is good practice. Okay, we'll go through this again. I should have said you can abstain as well. So it's yes, no, or abstaining. So Councillor Bartle? Yes. Councillor Cairns? Yes. Councillor Doody? Yes. Councillor Fulton? Yes. Councillor Goldsworthy?
Yes.
Councillor McLaren?
Yes.
Councillor Mealings?
Yes.
Councillor Powell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Redmond?
No.
Councillor Ward?
No.
Mayor Gordon?
Yes.
Did I do it wrong last time?
No. You changed.
Oh, you changed. Oh, okay. Thank goodness for that. So the yes is a yes. 10 and 10 to 2.
That can't work. 9 to 2.
Oh, sorry, 9 to 2. You got me rattled here.
So it's carried. The motion's carried. All right. Let's keep going. Item 9, which is the health and safety report.
Yes, I'll just take this report as being read. Note there's 14 instances last month.
Any questions? Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Chief Executive. I noticed that, again, we have no flamingo scooter incidents. When looking at the ACC figures, it seems that there is a noticeable increase in scooter incidents around the country, but we're not reporting them. So is this part of our contract with Flamingo that they must report back to council any incidents or not?
Yes, I believe so, yep. GM has agreed to that, yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor McLaren.
My question somewhat similar to that around notifiable incidents, and recommendation B states that there are no notifiable incidents. The rest of that statement suggests that it only relates to the Health and Safety at Work Act, section 56. However, the aviation incidents were reported to civil aviation, and there are a whole range of other statutory bodies that do require notifications from time to time, and they are health and safety related. For example, EPA under the HASNO Act, the Hazardous Substances and New Organisms Act, for any chemical or type incidents, MPI for any food safety incidents. So I think we just need to be a wee bit careful around the statement that there are no notifiable incidents by either adding to WorkSafe under the Health and Safety at Work Act, or expanding this part of the report out to capture all of those other statutory notification requirements. Your thoughts? There's the question. I'm doing it. Councillor Ward there.
Please, you got there, Councillor.
We'll probably we'll have a discussion and bring something back, but we'll probably, I'd probably be recommending the fuller explanation than a limited one.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. So we've got a recommendation. Someone prepared to move. Councillor McLaren, seconded Councillor Cairns. Any discussion? I'll put that then. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Next is 10.1, Sherry Ann. Good timing. It's already been to audit and risk, so it's just adopting this now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Yes, so we are requesting adoption of the changes made to the risk management policy and the framework. As Mayor Gordon said, this has been to Audit and Risk Committee a couple of weeks ago, of which questions were asked and answered. So we just seek that the council adopts these changes today. If there are any questions.
Any questions? Someone appeared to move the recommendation. Moved Councillor Fulton, seconded by Councillor Goldsworthy. Do you wish to speak?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Goldsworthy?
I would just like to point out that this report came to council unmodified from what came to A&R. So, thank you.
Good. Any further speakers? I'll put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. On contrary, declare that carried. Next is Tessa's report. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sherry.
Tessa was here, but then she left. I've asked her to come back.
There's nothing really in there that's major, Chris, so...
See you now already, and yeah, I'm happy to take it as read. If you have any questions, then I'll try and answer them and do my best. Otherwise, I'll wait for Tessa.
Questions, Tim? Some are prepared to move. Moved Councillor Powell, seconded Councillor Cairns. Do you wish to speak?
Has been to CNR since this has come through. It's been a really good piece of work that staff have done, particularly Amy, led by Amy. And yes, I do hope you will all support it, because it is an important piece of work. We are all about being a welcoming community, and that's what this is all about.
Albeit briefly, I'd like to congratulate Amy's work on this. She's actually put her heart and soul in terms of the work that she's done, welcoming communities, and she's had lots and lots of meetings with the Migrants Committee and that sort of thing, and she's done an extremely good job of actually bringing this report through to council. And I think that the Waimakariri, it's one of those sort of places that people don't see a lot of advertising as to why they would actually come to the Waimakariri. People choose to come here because of the environment and also friends and family. That's the reason why people come here. And if we actually have a plan or a policy to actually welcome them, like that's being adopted here, then all the better. It's just a wonderful idea that we're always thinking about the people, putting the people first. So I ask that you also vote in favour of this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are in debate, so we've moved, it's been moved and seconded. Appreciate you've just arrived, Tessa and Amy. If you wanted to add anything, Chris did an excellent summary for you.
I just want to apologise. We have a staff member getting married this weekend, and midday today was the only time we could fit in a wee celebration. So we just zipped over to wish her well.
Which staff members have?
Elizabeth.
Oh, wonderful. Lovely. We'll do pass on our congratulations to Elizabeth. That's lovely. Okay, well, we won't hold you very long. I support... I'm sorry, Amy, is there anything you want to add?
Well, just thank you, and thank you for having us on the agenda today. Something that's been on my mind has been just to make a statement that this is a welcoming district. And I've had the privilege of having support from elected members, whether it be at events or at meetings, or even the mayor coming up to the national hui. So I feel like there is a lot of buy-in, and I think you're just reflecting that this is a welcoming space. So having the plan, though, why have the plan? In spite of what might happen around the country, around the world, we've got something locked in for the next 3 years to say we'll continue to support the different groups that we support, be it CAB, be it cultural inclusion practice, and so on. So, and continue to shine a light on the work we do. Just consolidates a lot of that work we do across the community and recreation teams, libraries, green space, and so on. We kind of draw it all together, and we can start celebrating the kind of work that we're doing that is maybe a little bit behind the wings. We can bring it to light and draw more people to those spaces. So thank you for the support.
Thank you, and I'm just to observe, I support this program and what it does, and especially the work that Amy does in the space, often at citizenship ceremonies as well. And I think that the welcoming face of this district is really important. We've never had to advertise for people to come here. They've made their choice, and every time at a citizenship ceremony, people come to me and say afterwards just how lovely and special they found that, or they found our community to be welcoming. But having a forum and a program in which we have a plan is really important. So, you know, over the last 10 years, we've had a 30% increase in our district's population. And of that, it's not just external coming from overseas, it's also those internally who are moving out here for a range of reasons. So I support the work that's being done, and I love the plan that's there, and I love the work that you do, Amy. So just to acknowledge that. I know just as you are coming in, Councillor Cairns and others have been talking, so just to say how much we all support what is being done here. So appreciate that efforts that go in, and also that broader involvement that interweaves through what our council does. Being a welcoming place is so important. So fully support what's being done here in this program. All right, any further speakers? I can't remember who moved now, was it? Yes, Councillor Powell. Would you like a right of reply?
Very, very quickly. This is a plan, and Amy's put a heck of a lot of work into it. But just so that you all know, it's a plan. But guess what? There's a whole lot of actions now happening in behind the scenes, led by Amy. So it's not just going to be a plan that sits on the shelf. There is actually going to be things happening. So I'm really looking forward to what happens. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Put that, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Tessa and Chris. All right. Committee minutes for information. We have 11.1, 11.2. Joan, you prepared to move those?
Absolutely.
Councillor Ward, sorry. Councillor McLaren seconded. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Then we have community board minutes. 12.1 to 12.4. Some are prepared to move. Councillor Barshall seconded. Councillor McLaren. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Council portfolio updates, iwi relationships. Well, I think the strength of our relationship is hopefully a good evening tonight, and so look forward to hopefully all of you being present. We might just go through the protocols before we finish today. I have just had a call from Macca, so hopefully everything's still on track with it. I'll find out shortly, but we'll talk about that at the end of our meeting. But we're in a strong position, and that's due to a lot of work that's gone on over many years now. Especially want to acknowledge our CE, who certainly made great inroads, ensuring we and our staff are in this position today. So it's really good to see that start. And just to be clear, the purpose of tonight really is to ensure that we're before the LTP, and we're here. It's the first time we've done this. We go along and we have an advanced conversation well in advance of our process. Normally we go after the fact, and it's already a developed plan. Well, we want to hear now, and what better way to do it than through our hui this evening. So looking forward to it. Any questions? Greater Christchurch Partnership, that meeting is happening Friday, so there's nothing really to add at this point. We can add next month when we provide further review. But the meeting on Friday is really updates there may be a discussion about future around whether the partnership should continue in its present form or just be put on pause while we're going through the reforms. But there'll be a discussion for Friday. We'll see where that ends up. Anything else for Nikki or Philip? Okay. Any questions? And as I mentioned before, there's normally a link there, so if you want to hear what's going on in that, feel free to listen in. Government reforms, well, they continue. And I don't have anything to add more than you already know, apart from discussions with the Minister and Prime Minister where it's made it clear that simplifying local government in particular, they're not going to proceed on anything, it would appear, unless there's a willingness of communities to want to progress those. So we'll wait to see what the decisions are with respect to ECAN or regional councils. The effort needs to go into the CTB work, and there's already some work started at a mayoral forum level of just where some of those to inform the process that goes forward, but nothing formally, nothing's been approved, and I would never take a stance without checking in with you here. And importantly, as we mentioned in our submission, it needs to involve our communities as well, because ultimately they've got to have their say. It's all well and good proposals, but it's got to be endorsed by them. So hopefully that's taken heed of in the work that comes back. They made that, Chris Bishop in the discussion I was in last week said that they will be coming back before finalising things to local government, NZ, so that's encouraging. So that's quite a change in discussion from what had happened before, where these reforms went out without any involvement with LGNZ. So there's been quite a lot of effort going to rebuild our relationship at a government level, but also importantly working with both sides of politics, all sides, because if anything's to be enduring, it should have cross-party support, but also ensure that positions that local government New Zealand takes are best as possible, bipartisan in their nature. Any questions?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I noticed that in terms of the reform tab that's actually on our website, other councils now are doing exactly the same. Is there become quite a noticeable amount of people going onto the website and actually looking at that reform tab, or is it effectively just like all the others, not a great deal of activity?
I'm not sure. I'll get some stats on it, but I understand it is being looked at quite a bit.
Who holds the comms portfolio? So, Shona?
Sort of during that initial period when it was up, I think it was 641 had gone in. So it was definitely how it's been going since then. I actually have no idea, but in that initial sort of period, it was around 640 mark. So
thank you.
Any other questions? Climate change, briefly.
Yeah.
Just we've got a bit of business still to get through.
Yeah, all good. Look, I've just picked out a few wee items here. So Arohatia Te Awa has reconvened this term. So sorry, my portfolio, just reminding you, it's not just climate change, it's sustainability, biodiversity, all that stuff. So anyway, Arohatia Te Awa has reconvened. We've had our first meeting on the 16th of Feb. And that is the principal working group for our biodiversity projects, particularly those with a blue-green network, like riparian focus. We've had a refreshed membership, including Councillors Fulton, McLaren, and Cairns alongside staff, and I'm looking forward to working with them for this new term. The waimakariri Biodiversity Contestable Fund is currently open for applications until the 15th of March, and that is for registered community groups, as in entities, working to protect, maintain, and enhance biodiversity and ecological values in the district through the waimakariri Natural Environment Strategy. Our organizational greenhouse gas footprint for 24-25, because you have to do it after the fact, because you can't measure something that hasn't happened yet, is progressing well with the report due by the end of March.
good progress is being made on our Canterbury Climate Partnership Plan implementation actions. A rapid review of the CCPP is due to be completed by the end of June to inform council LTPs, if anything. And you guys often hear me talk about Resilience Explorer, aka REX, in my reports. So what is it? So in their words, it's just to remind you, it is a digital platform that offers intuitive geospatial mapping, visualization of asset and network data, interactive simulations of hazard events, and risk assessments based on world-leading research. But yeah, basically, since we've got a bunch of new people around the table that may not have seen this thing in action, or maybe you've just kind of missed it, VJ has offered to do a demonstration at some point for us if you'd like to see what it does, because it's pretty amazing. As for the WDC Natural Hazards and Climate, a new thing. There is a new group proposed, the WDC Natural Hazards and Climate Adaptation Coordination Group. So council management agreed to establish that at the 11th of December presentation on adapting to climate disruption. They've got a draft terms of reference workshopped, and that's coming back to management team for sign off once the deliverables have been finalized from that. But the purpose of that group is to lead and support a coordinated organization-wide approach to addressing natural hazard and climate risks over time by connecting expertise across council units, aligning short and medium and long-term work programs, and ensuring consistent evidence-based planning. Obviously, those are important things. The group will strengthen collaboration, streamline information sharing, and provide strategic advice to enable effective, timely, and integrated adaptation actions that enhance the resilience and well-being of the council and the communities we serve. So the proposed members of that group are subject matter experts from civil defense, SBU, comms and engagement, community team, green space, biodiversity, planning, infrastructure resilience, and the PDU, as well as a management team sponsor. So that's kind of a dream team to look at all that, because it does affect everything we do, everywhere we do it. So I think, yeah, I very much welcome the putting together of that group, and it will be interesting to see that happen. And that's it from me. Any questions?
Thanks, Nikki. Questions?
She draws breath.
And I know you have because you do a lot of work in that space, you have quite a full update. Perhaps just email that to colleagues as well.
That's not staff, that's something I've put
No,
together.
I understand that. No,
Yeah.
I didn't say it was from staff.
No,
I said that I know
yeah.
that you put a lot of effort in.
Thank
So if you want to circulate that to colleagues, that would be good. Because there's quite a lot of detail in there. Yeah, well done. Okay, there was no questions. International relationships.
Thank you. I take it I've got 10 minutes.
No.
No, I'll be quick then. There have been several things happening in the international space. I attended, in fact, some of you may know it's Chinese New Year, Year of the Horse. And Philippa and I attended a spring festival concert at the Isaac Theatre Royal, and interestingly, Philip and Philippa mean lover of horses, so it was quite appropriate, I thought. Anyhow, first time I'd been along, I met the Chinese consul, and it was a very good evening. We both enjoyed ourselves. We weren't sure that we were going to, but it was an excellent event. So I'm now known to them. We received a scarf with the horse on it. So the second thing, I went out, filling in for the mayor, to Oxford Area School to say farewell to about 12 Chinese students. So I came along fully equipped with my Chinese gear, and that went very well. Those students were from Fenshon number 1 school, and I asked, well, what about number 2 and 3? And apparently there are a number of other schools with the same name. They're from Quanchu or some area just north of Hong Kong. So they had a successful stay at Oxford Area School. But the third thing is the Passchendaele Advisory Group was going to meet this week, but the Mayor couldn't make the meeting, so I think we've got a date next week. So that will be the first meeting of that group under the new term. And I've now got the terms of reference and see how that's been operating and read the minutes from the last couple of years. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that group can do, which involves the RSAs and Rangiora and Kaiapoi. I think it's probably more than just the Passchendaele track and doing some landscaping. I'm hoping we can have a good relationship with Sonnebeck and other places, and having been to Passchendaele, I'm quite looking forward to being involved with that group. So anyhow, that's it from international relationships.
Thanks, and thanks for representing at both those events, Philip, and Philip. Any questions? Thank you. So I've got no questions, understanding orders, and no urgent general business. So we'll now move to PX, and I think we'll just keep going. If members are happy with that, we'll just see how we're going. Right, so firstly, there's a recommendation to move into public excluded for a range of reasons as indicated. As someone appeared to move, Councillor Doody, seconded Councillor Goldsworthy. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. We're now in public